Hi there, I'm Adam Leventhal. Welcome to the preview on the Athletic FC. Arsenal, Liverpool at the Emirates is the big one this weekend, and we will also be setting you up for all of the other Premier League action as well. With me this week is Tim Spears. How are you, Tim?
How do?
How do to you too. And Nick Miller is here as well. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. Thank you very much for asking, Nick. Ready to look ahead to the setup this weekend, which is a 1-5-4 from Friday to Sunday. We've got the Friday night football, which is Leicester against Forest. For Saturday 3 p.m. or 10 a.m. in the States, Eastern. Brentford, Ipswich, Villa, Bournemouth, Man City, Southampton and Brighton, Wolves. The 5:30 or 12:30 on Saturday is Everton, Fulham. Then on to Sunday, 2 p.m. or 9 a.m. That's Palace, Spurs, Chelsea, Newcastle, West Ham, Manchester United, then Arsenal against Liverpool, 4:30 or 11:30 at the Emirates. And that is where we're going to start. So, Liverpool are top of the Premier League. They're 1 point clear of Manchester City, 4 clear of Arsenal in third, and also on points, Aston Villa in fourth. Let's set the scene by checking in with Ian Stone and James McNicholas on our Arsenal pod handbrake off, just to see how they're feeling.
I hate must-win games because, you know what, when you start talking about must-win games, it's October. But at the same time, I think more mustn't lose, right?
Yeah, I certainly think that. If we lose, 7 points is the gap to Liverpool, right? And I've basically already decided that Man City are going to absolutely batter Southampton, so 6 points to City as well. I think it would make for pretty ugly reading in terms of the title race. Not insurmountable, nothing's insurmountable in October, and let's have that perspective. But I do think this is a game Arsenal need to get something from, and I think a win would really kind of send a bit of a message and make a bit of a statement.
So obviously Ian and James are very keen for Arsenal to win, but if Liverpool do and they open up a 7-point gap, what's the impact of that at this stage of the season, and also considering what Arsenal have been doing this season so far?
If Liverpool were to win, I think it'd be a pretty devastating blow to Arsenal's title hopes. Just going on recent history and the fact that they'll probably need 90 points minimum, and they've already dropped 7. So if you're looking for 90 minimum, the maximum you can earn in one season is 114. Their maximum is now 107 already.
Yeah.
And it could be down to 104 if they lose at the weekend. So what I'm trying to say is, why you smile at me?
Well, no, you know what? Why I'm smiling?
Go on.
When I finish a point.
No, you've interrupted me.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. But if you're watching this on YouTube, we film this in a black studio. I'm looking at Tim, and, judging by my age, I remember the days when classrooms used to have chalk on a blackboard, and it was almost like being in a maths lesson there, Tim, because it was really interesting, your mathematical analysis of the points. But I've broken in and I've stolen your flow. I'm sorry.
It's fairly basic sort of year 4 maths.
Yeah, but that's when I sort of revert back to in terms of my level now.
I think I've finished my point.
It is. It is. I still haven't quite, even though it's been the case for a few years now, I still haven't quite got used to the idea of you still have to get 90 odd points to even have a sniff of winning the title. But, as a man who remembers, I think United won it was 79 one year in the sort of late 90s or early 2000s. So, yeah, it is ludicrous that what Manchester City have done to set this kind of bar as to what you need to do to even get close to winning the league.
Well, and conversely, teams have gone down with 40 points, whereas now, because it's so stretched out, you need far fewer points to stay up. So it's had an impact on both ends of the table. But if you look at the fact Arsenal have dropped points in 3 games already, if they were to drop points here, then they go to sort of Newcastle and Chelsea away. Their next 2 games, you're sort of looking at those both as must win. So I'd be a bit concerned if I was an Arsenal supporter at this stage, with their recent run, sort of getting through the Leicester and Southampton games unconvincingly, obviously losing to Bournemouth. If you're City, that generally doesn't happen. So, but I guess they've got to use the Bournemouth defeat as a bit of a wake-up call for what they shouldn't be doing at this stage.
Well, Mikel Arteta has approached games with quite a lot of caution this season. Do you think that he has to sort of change that tack, especially because he's at home against Liverpool?
I mean, I think I'm pretty sure that Arsenal will make this game horrible, and because of the injuries that they've got, which we make them onto, and this attitude, as the guys from Handbrake said, of it being a kind of must not lose game. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be quite, second half of Man City away, but I think it will be of that kind of oeuvre. Obviously, Mikel Arteta has adopted a slightly, in games other than City, has adopted a slightly more, whatever it takes to win attitude. And I think that's going to be emphatically the case against Liverpool.
I suppose this shouldn't come as much of a surprise that Arsenal have dropped points in all of the games that they've gone down to 10 men in: Brighton, City and Bournemouth, their last game. So that's 3 in 8 games. And the last team to win the league, picking up 3 red cards, was Leicester in 2015. And Arsenal have reached that tally already. So we don't need to go into the details and analyse the circumstances of Rice being sent off, Trossard being sent off and Saliba being sent off. But is it a disciplinary problem, or have they just got unlucky on 3 occasions?
Most red cards this season, the stat that flashed up on Matchday last weekend, most red cards since Boxing Day 2019 by a distance, 5 more than any other team. Is that a coincidence? Probably not. Is it a conspiracy? No, I'm going to say no.
Depends what seat you're sitting in.
Yeah, exactly. But
I didn't like the pause that you left between. There's people are going to fill that gap.
I just wanted to see what your face did, and you responded, beautifully.
Yeah.
I think you have to say yes to discipline. I think there's a bit of a culture that's been deliberately generated. Not to get sent off, but to have this kind of, Arteta said in March, we need to do the dark arts better after they lost at Porto. I think the problem is obviously when you cross the line and just blame others, but rather than recognising it's perhaps an issue, from within. But this whole sort of you versus us culture, it's no bad thing. It can sort of help spur you on to a trophy. But this whole, world hates us, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But the whole win at all costs is probably not feasible. I think Arteta probably plays into that with his sort of touchline antics. They feel they can push the boundaries, and as a byproduct of that, maybe this is where all the red cards come from.
Well, they're not dark arting particularly well then at the moment, are they?
Well, they did at Man City for most of the half.
But they still got a player sent off, and they had their wings clipped.
That second half was almost domestic.
I think that a better sort of indicator of someone having a team having a sort of systemic discipline problem is number of bookings rather than red cards.
Okay.
I know we said we're not going to kind of litigate all the red cards again, and let's not.
Have you got the stats?
But Arsenal have had 18 yellow cards so far this season, and only 3 teams have fewer than them. Everton, I'm surprised by this. Everton have had the fewest yellow cards this season with 13. Do you know who has the most with 30?
Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, Chelsea. Chelsea have had 30 players booked this season. Now, it might be the case that, as Tim said, this kind of the new win at all costs, dark arts, yada thing has resulted in the 3 red cards that they have, and obviously those 3 red cards are going to be much more costly than a string of yellow cards might be. But I don't necessarily think that Arsenal do have a real disciplinary problem.
Well, we know Saliba isn't going to be playing, obviously, after his sending off against Bournemouth. There are other defensive doubts for Arsenal. It's going to test the depth of their squad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a proper sort of patchwork defence. Calafiori might be out, Timber, Tomiyasu out. It looks like, as happened in the second half, I think in midweek, Thomas Partey will play right back, which is kind of... Arteta has done that voluntarily before. I think Partey played nominally, but right back against Southampton, and it's to a point it makes sense from a tactical point of view, because obviously Arsenal have their fullbacks to move into midfield, which Partey is obviously very comfortable doing, but it's still going to be a pretty patchwork defence. Presumably Ben White's going to move into the middle, and then Partey at right back and someone else at left back. So, yeah. Tricky one.
Yeah.
But still not too bad, I think. You bring in Zinchenko, multiple Premier League winner at left back, Ben White, very good centre half. It's Partey at right back's the issue, which Liverpool will, if he plays there, which Liverpool will look to exploit.
Zinchenko against Salah?
Yeah, but this is the whole point of why it's not a 11-man game anymore. Do you know what I mean? They haven't got too many players. That's not crisis, so they're just gonna have to deal with it, Adam.
You got to roll with the punches, haven't you, Tim? Haven't you, Tim?
Yes.
Sorry, there's a delay on the line. Good. So
this was a podcast.
Yeah. It's always good to interact. Let's now interact with the Athletic's Michael Cox on what he noticed at Anfield last weekend. Liverpool obviously beat Chelsea 2-1, and how Sunday's fixture may compare tactically.
For long periods of Liverpool's 2-1 victory over Chelsea last weekend, Liverpool didn't quite feel like Liverpool. We're used to them pressing high up the pitch, being very intense, trying to regain possession in the final third. But actually against Chelsea last weekend, they stood off. They let Chelsea's defenders have the ball. They focused more on trying to prevent passes from the defenders into the midfielders. That is basically what Arne Slot wants, but it wasn't entirely convincing against Chelsea, particularly when Malo Gusto, who started at left back but moved inside into central midfield, took up some really clever positions between the lines. Chelsea played through Liverpool very easily. Things might be different this weekend against Arsenal. You think of Arsenal as a very good possession-based side, able to pass the ball through the centre of the pitch very easily. But actually without Martin Ødegaard this season, they have struggled to do that. And although it wasn't really what everyone was talking about after the 2-0 defeat to Bournemouth last weekend, Mikel Arteta's team selection for that game was very defensive. It was pretty much 4 centre-backs and 3 holding midfielders. Bukayo Saka will probably be back this weekend, and in a way he might play the Malo Gusto role, not necessarily in terms of his strict positioning, but in terms of going from outside to in and being able to receive diagonal passes through the lines. Liverpool might be a little bit more intense this weekend. After all, last weekend's game was played after an international break and lots of players returned, probably far from 100% fit. But I do feel like in big games, Liverpool will need to show a little bit more intensity to win the ball higher up the pitch and to prevent the opposition playing through midfield quite so easily.
So interesting thoughts there from Michael Cox. Obviously mentioning about Bukayo Saka. That would be great for Arsenal if he is back in the lineup. It may well be a game for Gabriel Martinelli to shine in, and it usually is, according to the statistics against Liverpool. 7 goal involvements, that's 5 goals, 2 assists against Liverpool, his favourite opponents. He forced the own goal against Shakhtar in midweek, and basically he just needs to channel his inner Callum Hudson-Odoi against Liverpool.
Don't we all?
Yeah, absolutely. As you predicted, that was the only time that Liverpool have been beaten this season by your own Nottingham Forest. So that's basically this is such rudimentary analysis. So he basically just needs to cut in and score, and that's where Liverpool have a weakness, and he needs to do that for Arsenal this weekend, yeah?
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, do you want to give them a shout?
Message him?
Yeah, just tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Score a goal. And there you go.
Yeah. But is there, more seriously, obviously, is there a weakness there off that side for Liverpool? They're not showing it with the goals that they're conceding at the moment, obviously, which is only a handful. Yeah,
3. I think they're on pace to, and they won't do this, but they are on pace to beat Chelsea's famous record for not conceding goals. I don't really think there's anything particularly structural there. I know people doubt Trent Alexander-Arnold's defensive ability sometimes, but I don't think you can kind of. You're giving Tim a look.
I haven't seen someone bristle quite so so visibly. I think Tim, when you mentioned Trent Alexander-Arnold and his defensive abilities,
I wasn't questioning them. People are saying
you just sort of mentioned them.
Yeah.
And now I want to know what Tim thinks about them, because he literally sort of, Oh, what? Come on, what?
I'm really sorry to disappoint you.
Oh, no.
I literally just finished the thing that I was reading and then I'm going to look at Nick for a bit.
Oh, right. That was you concentrating, was it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's just how I bristle.
Okay. Well, you've watched a lot of England. Is that still a concern, or has he completely kicked them into touch in terms of
his defensive inadequacies? Well, no. If you saw the Finland game recently, albeit he was at left back, but he was doing some very basic stuff very badly. So yeah, he's of course he's got that in him. But what you get with Trent is all the other good stuff,
which is more important,
which balances out, which more than balances it out, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, we covered off Arsenal. Next, we're going to have a look at Liverpool. So there was also a 1-0 win for Liverpool in the Champions League, just like Arsenal. Liverpool at RB Leipzig. 11 wins from 12 for the first time in the club's history to start the season. Here's James Pearce, our purring Liverpool correspondent.
Liverpool head for the Emirates on Sunday in excellent shape. I think the caveat before the international break was that Arne Slot's side hadn't really played anyone, that the fixture list had been kind to them, but that no longer applies. They've beaten Chelsea, they've beaten RB Leipzig, who are only off the top of the Bundesliga on goal difference. What struck me most about the win in midweek at the Red Bull Arena in Leipzig was just the control they exerted for long periods. You know, that stadium was buoyant before the game and early on as Leipzig started pretty positively, but once Darwin Núñez poked Liverpool in front, they really quietened that crowd down and they limited them to very few chances. Yes, it got a little bit ragged late on and Kevin Kelleher had to make a couple of big saves, but this is a Liverpool team that just looks so well drilled, so well coached defensively. 5 goals conceded in 12 matches so far, 7 clean sheets. No one has scored more than once against Liverpool in a game so far this season. Absolutely mouth-watering what's in store at the Emirates on Sunday. It's Liverpool's biggest test so far, yet they keep on coming up with the answers.
They do indeed. James Pearce sounds excited, doesn't he? He sounds like this is going to be another big season for Liverpool. Do you agree with everything that he said there, that this week in particular has sort of, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the Champions League longer term, but the win against Chelsea has sort of rubber stamped the fact that they're going to stay the course this season?
Yeah, and it sort of confirms their sort of new identity for me. It was quite an unusual game to watch. It was very sort of calm. Anfield was quite quiet. You know, Chelsea came out strong in the second half and Liverpool just shut the game down and they barely created a chance of note after that and just sort of got the job done with minimal fuss. You know, it's very sort of different to the Liverpool we've known in the past. They've managed to create this new identity very quickly and efficiently, despite having exactly the same squad. I can't really remember a similar example of that happening in the past, certainly with one of the big teams. It speaks a lot to not just what Slot has done, but also, I guess, the professionalism within the group, being able to manage the dressing room themselves, and also, you know, not letting their standards drop at all. The only thing I would say in terms of testing this Liverpool team and what do we know about them is that they've only gone behind once so far in the Premier League this season, which was against his boys, and they lost. So they're very, very good at sort of taking the lead and then seeing a game out with sort of exceptional game management. But I'd really like to see an Arsenal. I'd like to see the Arsenal take the lead the week. I think that would be the ultimate test for Liverpool if they can chase the game.
It's quite funny that Slot, certainly in the kind of early weeks, was doing the whole, well, I'd be pretty silly if I tried to change too much too radically, wouldn't I? And he's completely changed their kind of style of play. I know this is not going to sound like a compliment, but it is a bit of a compliment. They're not very interesting to watch now because they do tend to control games fairly easily. Whereas, yeah, obviously before it was a little bit more chaotic and more entertaining to watch, really. But yeah, as Tim says, see how they would react to things not going to plan against you can, if they were to go behind and then not do anything against Arsenal, you could sort of see it. You could sort of write the Forest game off as a bit of a, an anomaly, and those games happen, and sometimes then you can't really do anything about that. But if it starts happening over and over again, then it becomes more of a sort of pattern and more of a systemic problem, I guess.
I have a question for Nick. You know how Liverpool used to be known as like rock and roll football? Why is it now?
Interesting.
I have a take.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why didn't I get asked?
I'm thinking
Because you're the host.
All right. Carry on.
maybe that kind of in the early 2000s there was that sort of chill out 07 stuff.
We like 07. He's got him on his wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met the guys from 07.
Here he goes. His name dropped.
Couple of years
Met
ago.
the 07 guys. So
Yeah, about the zero. Well, they were on a show that I was doing, a music show actually. Yeah.
What was that called?
It was called The Lounge.
There you go.
It's called
Perfect.
The Lounge. Yeah.
So what were you?
Carry on.
I was also going early 2000s.
Yeah.
I was going to say Strokes because it's sort of
Right.
it's not hugely dissimilar because it's the same personnel as before, but they're sort of all in time. They're all very organised and disciplined.
Yeah.
But it all works together as a team, and it sounds and looks
Yeah.
great.
Quite tight.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Tight, disciplined.
In terms of controlling games,
Yeah.
going to a hot atmosphere as Liverpool did in Germany this week, it's a good sort of dress rehearsal that they've had in the Champions League for going to Arsenal. Basically, just roll it out again, just go again, lads.
Yeah, it was as kind of James alluded to when we heard from him there. It was quite controlled, and again, it was quite. I regretted my decision to watch that game because it wasn't very interesting up until about 10-15 minutes to go, where Kelleher had to make a couple of saves. Leipzig had a couple of chances. Was it a Pender right at the end? Inexplicably passed when he had a fairly clear shot on goal. So I suppose if it's all results based. If a Pender had actually taken a shot and scored there, then we'd be talking very differently about Liverpool's control of the game. But yeah, for the most part, they did control it, and that's kind of what they will be obviously looking to do against Arsenal.
How much of an impact does Jota missing out and Nunez playing instead have on Liverpool? Obviously, he scored in the Champions League midweek, and that's good for him, good for his confidence. Does it alter them as a proposition against an Arsenal team in particular, or not?
I don't know about against Arsenal, but I'm interested to see how Nunez sort of fits into this calmer, controlled, disciplined Liverpool team.
Yes. Yeah.
Because as Nick's reaction suggests, there he's quite the opposite.
Yes.
So yeah, obviously.
But you need a bit of light and shade, don't you?
Maybe that's exactly what Arne Slot's thinking. But yeah, of course you're going to miss Jota. Apart from Salah, he's their best finisher. But that's why they've got 6 first choice forwards this season to slot in and rotate as and when. But yeah, it shouldn't impact them too much. I mean, Liverpool's numbers are ridiculous. We've gone about their defensive numbers, but their attacking numbers are just as good. They've created more XG than anybody else, and yeah, I don't think Jota being out should impact them too much.
I wonder whether, obviously Nunez did play in midweek. I wonder whether with everything we've said about wanting to control it, whether Cody Gakpo will play through the middle. I know he's, broadly speaking, when he's come on, it's and when he's played, it's been off the left, but he can play through the middle. I think he's better off the left, but he is a slightly more predictable player than Nunez, and that's maybe what they will go for.
Yeah, I think Nunez is a good bench option.
Yeah.
And you got Gakpo, Salah and Luis Diaz to sort of rotate and do stuff.
I think working theory that Nunez is actually better off the left as well. He only for Liverpool he's only really played through the middle, I think, but
and he's had joy againch Arsenal from the left from memory last season.
Yeah, he tends to play through the middle, but for Benfica, a lot of his, if you watch a lot of his highlights, a lot of the damage he did was kind of coming in off the left. So I had a piece in mind for quite a long time about players who are misjudged based on their physiques, because he looks like a centre forward, but I think he's possibly better on.
We've mentioned Liverpool's great defensive record a number of times, but it is worth just sort of sticking a flag in the fact that they have only conceded 3 goals in 8 games. And Virgil van Dijk, he's had a couple of different partners, but him and Konate at the moment, the fact that Kelleher has come in and done well in the absence of Alisson as well, we have to give them some praise for being able to do what they're doing. And obviously we'll see at the next international break if those numbers are quite so exceptional when they come up against a whole load of better teams, and this visit in particular against Arsenal is going to be their strongest test, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. If we're discounting Nottingham Forest, of course. But
we are.
But yes, yeah. Just casually discounting the only team to beat Liverpool so far. Are we? No. Okay.
Well, I didn't mention it earlier on, but you are. It is like being sat opposite Brian Clough. With you wearing that green as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to take that. Actually.
That is Brian Clough green, isn't it?
It is Brian Clough green.
That's deliberate.
It isn't. No. Just maybe
subconscious,
subliminal.
Subliminal.
Why I bought the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, it certainly will be. I think it was. I know people spoke a lot about the Chelsea result being a kind of a real marker for Slot, which it kind of was, but and because Chelsea have been much better than most people expected, I think, this season. But obviously, even if they get a draw at Arsenal, I think then that will be the real kind of maybe this is the real thing.
What's going to happen in the game, Tim? Prediction.
Crikey. It's a great question. It's difficult to predict, what with a few injuries for Arsenal, and we haven't seen Slot's Liverpool against the top team yet. Mm-hmm. I reckon Nick thinks it's going to be really boring. That might be a good shout. I don't know.
Okay. That's cool. Thanks anyway.
What a run-up that was to just say, don't know, mate.
Yeah.
1-1 then.
1-1?
Yeah.
2-1 Liverpool.
Right, let's look at the other games this weekend. Manchester City up against Southampton. Well, if Southampton can do what Wolves did last week, right up until the last minute, then Southampton might have a chance. The question is, can Southampton do what Wolves did? Tim?
I would say no, because Wolves had 22% possession against Manchester City, which is not what Southampton planned to do. I'm still not really over that game, actually. It was a weird one. When the goal went in 95th minute, I don't think we've ever reacted like this before. Oh. But I laughed manically, like a superhero sort of villain kind of.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious because it's just gone beyond funny. Do you know what I mean?
Is this what was the source of this kind of mirthless?
But I guess we've had this horrific season, and then everybody expects us to get walloped by Man City, and then we get to 95th minute 1-1. I was just...
Were you alone?
Yes, I was alone.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, neutral side of things. You feel sorry for Wolves, but to be honest, no one was expecting you to get anything anyway. So.
No, and
we just move on.
No, from Gary O'Neill's point of view, there was a right way to lose that game. And I think he's added a little bit more time to his tenure with the way that Wolves performed that day.
As for Southampton, collapsed after having their moment where they thought they were going to be turning things around against Leicester. I mean, I do fear for them going to Manchester City from a Watford fan who has been to Manchester City and seen a side concede 5 goals in, I think it was 17 minutes, and then lose 8-0. Southampton.
And the cup final, don't forget that one.
Oh, yeah, the cup final as well. Yeah.
Wow, really picking at old wounds to that.
Yeah, but they are capable of completely deconstructing a team that's not very good. And Southampton are showing that they do have significant defensive frailties. Yeah,
you kind of instinctively think, given maybe this is just given that Southampton have conceded 9 goals in 2 games in relatively recent history, but you sort of you wonder whether this could be the game. This could be the double figures game finally.
No, but really.
Well,
I was say the opposite. My hot take is they'll do better against a better team. I think they'll enjoy themselves.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they were pretty close in it against Arsenal. Did well against they lost 1-0 to Newcastle. The signs are there.
The signs are there.
I don't know.
I think they've got a good performance in them, and it's gonna.
I think that they'll try their passing out the back thing, and City will press them viciously, and it could be ugly. I mean, I actually think I suspect it won't be kind of 9 or double figures or whatever, but because I suspect City will kind of get to score 5, get to an hour, and then just kind of muck it around for a bit. Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
I enjoy you. I like your faith in Southampton.
Well, you've done a very good deep dive into Southampton recently, so you're definitely more qualified to discuss them than me.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't quite go that far. I sort of outsourced all the tactical stuff to Liam Tharm because
he's good for that, isn't he?
Because he's very good, and I don't usually don't have as firm a grip on that kind of thing as Liam does. But yeah, the piece was kind of less saying this is why Southampton should carry on like this, but more explaining why Russell Martin is so sort of dogmatic about how he plays. But yeah, I don't think that's going to serve them particularly well against Man City.
400 to 1 you can get for 10-0.
Well, there you go.
Let's not talk about 10-0. Come on. Let's hope that maybe Southampton can run Manchester City as close as bottom of the lot Wolves did, who still only have 1 point. Aston Villa are in 4th currently, top of the Champions League. They take on Bournemouth. Obviously, this weekend isn't going to decide what happens in the league placings, obviously, because it will only be after 9 games. But is there a chance that Unai Emery finishes above Arsenal this season? And do you think that some little fire in him is thinking, I would love that?
I don't think they will, but I don't know. Do you think that's his motivation to kind of get one back on?
I don't know. I asked you the question.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, you did, didn't you? And then I just flipped it back on you. Probably not.
Shall I ask you a better question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How impressed have you been with how Aston Villa have dealt so far? And it's sort of creeping on and on and on. That they are dealing with the pressure of Champions League and League.
Yeah, it was really impressive how they kind of they obviously the correct question that people have been asking about how they would deal with the Premier League, with the Champions League, is the depth of their squad. But they made quite a few changes, and not all enforced changes for the Champions League in midweek, and still won. So that was kind of really impressive. I know the changes didn't even necessarily weaken their sort of starting lineup. John Duran played instead of Ollie Watkins, and people have been wondering what he would do if he had a starting chance at some point. So it wasn't quite like he was resting players. We'll knock off this easy game in Europe and then get it down to the proper business of the Premier League kind of thing. But it was pretty impressive how they did manage to kind of make these changes and not really seem to suffer for it. So this all bodes well. I mean, it will change. It was obviously good for them that had John McGinn back, and it will change if they have a few more good injuries to key players. But that was all really encouraging.
Brighton are in 5th, and they've got a chance to consolidate that position because they are taking on Wolves. I guess, they just have to sort of
turn up and
but it'll be interesting to see the opposition that Brighton face, whether Wolves will be able to sort of pick themselves up off the ground after that late defeat.
I guess so. In the eyes of Wolves fans, this is sort of the last of the tough fixtures before they get.
You're still banging
really
on about
easy.
the tough, right?
We're all waiting for Palace at home. Which is the day
That's
before.
it.
The day before Gary Neal's going to get sacked, probably more likely than anything, rather than the day the season starts. It's the last game I would want as a Wolves fan, which I am. Is Brighton away. Not got the best record there. Lost 6-0 there a couple of years ago, and Brighton just look sumptuous. It's going to be another season of how do they do it.
Behind Brighton in 5th, Chelsea will be hoping obviously to get back on track after defeat at Anfield, take on Newcastle. Do we feel that Chelsea out of those two sides are more likely to be really genuinely challenging for the top 5, maybe 4?
Yeah, that's obviously lost to Brighton last time. I just don't think. I'm not really sure what it is that's the problem. They've got some injuries. I don't think Anthony Gordon's been quite as good as he was last season. He has had to play in a slightly unfamiliar position due to those injury problems. But
he's been getting chances but not taking them.
Yeah, I don't know whether the footballers are they're quite delicate sometimes, aren't they? Like the idea, if you kind of said, well, the reason this guy isn't playing as well as he was before is that he's playing like 15 yards further to the right than he usually does. That doesn't sound, you'd sort of give him a slap around the face and tell him to pull himself together. But it is a kind of issue that it's just a completely different role that he's playing, and it clearly is. Whether that is the main problem, whether he's just going through some poor form, but yeah, he's not been as good as he was last season.
Well, I think they're a bit over reliant on him. Isak's not the player he was last season at all.
He's just come back, hasn't he?
Yeah, of course, missed a couple of good chances last weekend, but they're a bit imbalanced because on the right side they've got Murphy or Almiron, neither of whom are really pulling up any trees. So this is the sort of after effects of their poor summer and not being able to sign any players. This is what's going to happen. On
the poor summer thing, they are now. It seems to be sort of a slight existential crisis of the players that they had to sell. So Minter at Brighton, and particularly Elliot Anderson. Elliot Anderson was brilliant for Forest against Crystal Palace on Monday, and it seems to have provoked lots of kind of, oh my God, why did we sell this guy? We should have just taken the points deduction kind of thing, which may or may not be the case, but doesn't look enormously promising for them at the moment.
Playing an unfamiliar role in the table, I think you could say, is Crystal Palace, because they are really struggling at the moment. Mm-hmm. Third from bottom. They take on Spurs. Are you feeling that Palace are going to get out of this, or are they in there for the long run in this relegation scrap?
Who are you worried about earlier? Southampton. I'm worried about Crystal Palace.
Are you?
Yeah, I think they're going through a bit of an identity crisis. Every team's got to have an identity in 2024. I don't know what theirs is really. They've stopped dribbling. They don't dribble anymore. They don't take any players on.
They've been shooting lots of shots from distance.
Lots of shots distance. Yeah. They've lost Elise, obviously a huge blow, and Wharton is out of money surgery, I was reading the other day, which isn't good because it seemed like they're designing their whole game plan around him in terms of controlling the midfield and playing through balls. So yeah, without those players and without a good summer again of recruitment and doing things like playing Eddie Nketiah on the wing and not having any, and Nathaniel Klein at left wing back was saw the other week, it's all a bit of a mess. And Glasner doesn't seem too happy. Glasner doesn't seem too happy. Right,
yeah, so he hasn't cut a happy figure all season.
No, and he's kind of criticised the players a little bit and said, they might have thought this was going to be an easy season because of the way that they finished last season. So, none of it bodes well.
The game on Monday, from a Forest perspective anyway, it was Forest scored and then not too long after that changed formation to go kind of 3/5 at the back, and you were kind of, from a Forest supporting perspective, I got quite nervous. I think, well, this is going to be a long last 10-15 minutes. But Palace did very little, and it was surprisingly comfortable, which is, as Tim says, pretty worrying from their point of view. That they just not just that they didn't score, it didn't really look like they were going to. They had a couple of long shots. I think Eza had one.
Eza had a couple. Nketiah hit the bar as well, didn't he?
Yeah, cause that was quite early on in the game, and then Eza had a shot that Matt Sells sort of tipped over the bar.
Oh yes,
quite.
It's a great save. It
was a fantastic save, but it wasn't. If you wonder whether that brilliant run that they had at the end of last season, obviously they were just so incredible to watch, specifically Eza and Michael Elise. From that perspective, you wonder whether there is much of a plan here, or whether they were just kind of, riding these two brilliant players to that incredible run, and now they've lost one of them. It's all on Eza. He was the only player that, again, from a Forest perspective, I was scared of, and they didn't have a huge amount else really. Manchester
United, they're down in 12th. Up against West Ham in 15th. Obviously, Manchester United bumped into Jose Mourinho in midweek, and it was all pretty sort of low-key. Nothing really happened with him. Both sides, in terms of the Premier League action, just one win in 7. And let's just quickly check in with Andy Mitten, Carl Anker, speaking to Ian Irving on our Manchester United pod, Talk of the Devils.
I don't have that much confidence in Manchester United at the moment. I'm sorry. I know there are injuries, but again, it's a team which struggles to score. I keep hoping the team will turn the corner.
Yeah, West Ham 1 win in 7. Manchester United 1 win in 7.
United have to win, if only because we joke about this, about the crisis baton, about how every weekend one Premier League club is in crisis. And it really does feel like whoever loses this game, they're going to be in the hot seat for however long. And I think Ten Hag will absolutely want to get a positive performance here, so maybe some of that worrisome question marks can be turned over to Lopetegui instead of onto him.
Do you think it's that easy? Because I see even, Manchester United win, they're probably not that far away from another crisis next week. I mean, the expectation for Manchester United will be that they should be beating West Ham. Yes, that might then put Julian Lopetegui in even more difficult... Oh, bums. My phone. At least it will say... Let me ask a quicker question, isn't it? I wanted to ask you about the crisis baton, Tim. Because I see both of these sides holding the crisis baton, and even if they win, they might sort of still have it in their arms in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, United are either in crisis or trying not to be in crisis, and never far from crisis. They're just constantly swimming against the tide.
Yeah.
And even Brentford last week, they went 1-0 down, and yeah, sure, good comeback win. And then in midweek, okay, they didn't beat Fenerbahce, who they should be beating, and yet people think it's a good point. Fenerbahce away. Well, no, they still haven't won in Europe yet. They haven't won in Europe for a year. Incredible. So no, I think if they lose this, they're back firmly in crisis mode again.
Yeah.
But I don't really see. Well, West Ham are at home here, but I don't really see them as being capable of beating many teams at the moment. They're in crisis too, Adam.
Yeah. If we're all adopting a team that we're concerned about, then I'm going to take West Ham.
Yeah.
Because they seem to find new and interesting ways to be hilariously calamitous. They got one win. Yeah, they were just saying 1 win the last 7, but everything else has been. Last weekend the method of imploding was go ahead and then concede 3 goals in 8 minutes, I think it was. And then get a man sent off for slapping multiple opponents around the face.
Which the referee was almost slapped by Kudus and still didn't send him off. He needed 4 whole minutes for that to be deemed a red card. It was absolutely ludicrous. Slapped 2 players, the ref saw it.
Yeah.
West Ham strike me as a team that maybe in a couple of months with a different manager might be heading in the right direction.
But they've got these deeper systemic issues where they've got Tim Steiden signing players who Julian Lopetegui isn't playing. So Somerville's been on the bench, Marc Soler hasn't played, Fulkrug I know has been injured, but question marks over whether he's the right fit for the money they're paid for a 31-year-old. So yeah, there's a lot of deep issues there and a lot of unhappy fans. I think you give Lopetegui 18 months and a couple of transfer windows and he'll sort them out, but might not get that long.
2 other games, quick mentions on Everton against Fulham. Obviously, Everton have a bigger test this weekend than they did against Ipswich, who looked a little bit like relegation scrappers last week against Everton, and sort of uncharacteristic defensive mistakes as well. Do you see Everton sort of pulling away now? You see them safe for this season? Yeah,
I think this will be a sort of fairly stodgy, maybe 2-0 win for Everton. I don't think they'll be particularly good, but there are also much worse teams in the division than them. And Ipswich go to Brentford. If it was Ipswich against Brentford, you might back them because Brentford can't win away, but Brentford at home is a tough proposition for anyone.
Yeah, they've got a really good home record. Stuck 5 past my boys the other week.
I mean, that's just a false economy if you base it on that, isn't it? Come on.
That was like the laugh I did when Man City scored. I'm going to this game actually.
Oh, are you?
I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing Ipswich. I think there's more to them than meets the eye, and I think they had a good summer window. And again, it's about blooding some of their
They were spending money like it was going out of fashion this week.
I think they're one of those that just need a bit of time for all that to gel. Yeah. And there's more to come from them. And I don't think they're certs for relegation.
No.
I think they'll be sort of here and there.
A quick one on that then. Who are your bottom 3? Who's going down?
Oh, well, God.
Come on.
Quickly, you said.
Yeah.
I still think Leicester will go down.
Yeah.
I think Southampton will go down.
Yeah.
And Crystal Palace.
Oh, Palace. Really? There's no team in there that... Okay, so Wolves aren't going down. Good. They're going to make a miraculous recovery. Your bottom three?
That's quite tedious because that might be my bottom three as well. Although
I think
Nick makes a lot of sense. I've always said that.
No, I think that's interesting that both of you have Palace to go down, because that would be quite a big story, I think, for Crystal Palace to go down from the Premier League.
Don't know where the goals come from. They're just all a bit confused at the moment, I think. And they sold the best defender as well to a mid-table rival, which is very silly.
Yeah, it was a bit odd for that to happen. That's it for this week. Thank you very much to Tim.
Cheers.
And to Nick.
Thank you.
And don't forget, you can check out the whole range of Athletic podcasts, from the Daily Briefing, you've got the Totally Football Show, all of the shows throughout the week, of course, on the Athletic FC. And we've got all our club pods as well. Thank you very much for listening, for watching on YouTube as well. Do send us your suggestions and your comments, and we will be back on Monday. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Take care.
If you want to watch more episodes of the show, please subscribe to the channel. We'll be joined by the likes of David Ornstein, Matt Slater, Adam Crafton, Carl Anker, and plenty more through the season. If you'd like to listen to the episodes in full in audio form, search The Athletic FC wherever you get your podcasts from.
Both of the papers going for the same headlines in Spain. What a Clásico awaits us, and it is definitely true. Right, well, kind of the same, via one word, okay?
I know, they're getting really creative, the opposing newspapers. They're doing the same headline.
That was very opposing, we always know. I'm actually surprised to see Barcelona player on the front cover of both of these editions, but that's the case, obviously, Rafinha with that hat-trick against Bayern Munich. Excitement building. Sid Lowe is going to be there for it, as he always is. Ian Dark on the call for this game as well. Lots to talk about here, because we know, Sid, that Barcelona are looking very strong right now, just 3 points ahead of Real Madrid, but their wins look a lot more convincing. However, for Real Madrid, their wins are coming by maybe not always so easily in La Liga, but they are going to be at home for this game. So what are the expectations?
Well, that's the question. And I mean, first of all, the expectations are what those two front covers have told you there, that there's a real excitement about this Clásico this time round. I think we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years a sense that maybe it's not the best two teams in the world anymore, that maybe it doesn't have the very, very best players in the world anymore, and that maybe there's been too much inequality between the two teams, because Real Madrid have very much had the upper hand in the last 2 or 3 years. I think what happened in Europe in midweek has changed that, because both of these teams scored lots of goals. Real Madrid 5, Barcelona got 4 of them, and against Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, a real sense of, wow, actually, these may be amongst the very best teams in Europe, and they're very close. There's only 3 points between them in La Liga, and of course that's because the team that most convinces, as you rightly say, is Barcelona, and that comes as a surprise, because of course we all know about Barcelona's financial problems. We all know about the fact that in the summer Real Madrid signed Kylian Mbappe, so there was a feeling that Real Madrid would walk the league title. That's not happening, and I think all of that has come together to create the sense that the expectation is about the fixture itself, about that idea that, wow, the Clásico is going to be really, really good again.
Ian, obviously you've been on the call for both of these teams already this season. What are you looking out for?
Well, like Sid and like everybody in Spain, I'm really looking forward to the game, and I think I hope it's going to live up to the billing, and I think both teams are going to score, because they've both got great attacking talent. I think Tchouaméni's sure to come back into the side, isn't he? And probably have the job of trying to keep tabs on Rafinha, who's just been brilliant, hasn't he, this season? What a revelation. A couple of hat-tricks. I think him and Lewandowski have got something like 24 goals between them in 13 matches so far. And what I love about the situation, as I think I was saying on a previous edition of this programme, is they're kind of ripping up the script, because it was supposed to be easy for Real Madrid, wasn't it, this season? Already the champions, already the European champions, and now with Mbappe, gonna be easy, isn't it? No, it isn't, because Barcelona have found something under Hansi Flick. There's a real belief, and I think it's a fascinating test of what they really are, going to the Bernabeu, where Real Madrid have won all 7 games in all competitions this season.
And one of the players you just mentioned there, Ian, is Rafinha, and that talent within him has really come to the forefront this season. Look at his stats so far. We're down even at chances created at 44, which is the most in Europe's top 5 leagues so far. In the 13 games he's played this season, 12 starts, 9 goals and 6 assists. It's such a different story to last season. In fact, Hansi Flick has been describing his player and what he brings to the team. He said Rafinha is a very good example of how the team works. He's a player who is defensive and offensive with intensity, dynamism, technique, always gives everything in training and in games too. He plays with a lot of intensity.
And rarely do you see a player at this level being able to reinvent a position, create a position for himself, and actually be elite in his performances. It doesn't happen regularly. This is rare. Usually the trend would be he was brought in to play out in the right-hand side of that front three. It didn't quite work out, and eventually he was gonna fade and see you later. Bye, Rafinha. There he goes. It was great to have you. And yet he said, no, wait. I can play here. You didn't know I could play here. You didn't know I could play here. In fact, I didn't know I could play here. But look at me. Look at me. And he has, again, reinvented his career, reinvented his role, reinvented who he is as a player, and thriving in that environment. Think about where Rafinha was 3 months ago, 4 months ago. He was on his way, apparently, out, and now he's the captain of the team. Not only is he the captain of Barcelona, he's the captain of Brazil. How this happened, I have no idea. But the trajectory of his career was going in the opposite direction, and now apparently has taken off. He took 2 steps back to go forward, and man, is he thriving.
He's been brilliant, hasn't he, Sid? He's even talked recently, obviously, about some of the troubles he had been going through, but he does seem to feel so valued under Hansi Flick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think actually what Ali did there was hit the nail on the head, that he looks like a player that was on his way out. And I think that part of that anger or part of that sense of getting a second opportunity is what's fueling him. Now, I think there's a whole load of elements to this, and he talked the other day about the tactical change. He talked about the feeling of, as you've just pointed out, of feeling comfortable under Hansi Flick, feeling like he's got a manager who believes in him. He talked as well about that kind of emotional sense of being happy now, and I think of having something to prove, which I think has really helped. The other thing is, Ali mentioned the captaincy. I mean, you know, I'm reluctant to try and read someone's mind too much, or to try and kind of psychoanalyze them. But I think one of the things that he said about the captaincy is really striking for me. Bear in mind that he was named the captain at Barcelona. Well, one of the captains. There's a group of captains named captain of Barcelona by popular vote within the dressing room, and he didn't expect it. And I think in the context of a player who knew that the club were looking for a sale for him, the context of a player who knows that Nico Williams is coming, and he's coming for his place, and in the end Nico Williams doesn't come, who knows that some of the fans are thinking, well, it wouldn't be that much of a problem if I go, suddenly has, unexpectedly, his teammates saying, no, this guy's a leader. This guy's someone we want here. This guy's someone that we appreciate. I think that too has had a really, really beneficial kind of mental impact upon him, which has been, I think, translated into some of these performances.
Obviously felt like it was going to be Kylian Mbappe at this stage of the season that was going to be the main man that we were talking about at Real Madrid right now, but it has turned out to be Vinny. Even though we've seen the connection between the two, it's Vinny who's shining brightest right now.
Yeah, he is at the moment. Let's see what it looks like at the end of the season. But, you know, Sid's just done a great profile of Vinicius Jr. And I was thinking that the other night because I was commentating on that game. And the facts of it were, for an hour, he wasn't very good in the game. Dortmund kept him pretty quiet, but he just keeps on going, keeps on running. And he's got that heat and electricity about him. And once they started to get a momentum, Real Madrid, he was unplayable. He was just running at them, and he can go either side as well. So defenders don't know which way he's going. And he's showing them a clean pair of heels, and the finishes were, well, spectacular. It was some hat-trick and some match. And that's the problem I think Barcelona have. Although they're in a fantastic place themselves, they're meeting Real Madrid on a real high. Real at home in the Bernabeu, knowing that 3 points puts them level with Barcelona in what is promising to be a cracking title race.
Okay, I don't mean to come to you with the more negative side of things here.
Well, it seems.
But it's been so positive.
Appropriate, I guess.
It's not just about Vinny, it's about both teams. It's specifically not about Vinny, actually. What are the biggest question marks you have about both Barcelona and Real Madrid going into El Clasico?
Before I get into that, Carlos Ocampo gets a mention in the show. All right, Carlos. 2. Emre Can should be embarrassed because he came into that game as a sub, late as a sub. should be in plenty physical condition to be able to, at the very least, run back. And he said, no, I'm not running. No, I'll run about 40, 50 yards and then, all right, Vinny, you go on your own. Embarrassing. Beyond that, the challenges are the same for both teams. Defensively, if you look at the first half yesterday between Bayern Munich and Barcelona, and Thomas Müller said something to the effect in the post-game interview, if we just get one of those passes right, we're through. We're through clean on goal. Bayern Munich just were not able to make that final decision correctly when there was space and time available to do so. That high line of Barcelona, if they're unable to pressure the ball, just think about and picture this for a second. The switch of the point of attack onto Vinny Jr., coming from a late run from behind, with all that space to run into, nobody's catching him. And nobody's catching Mbappe if they time it correctly. So that high line of Barcelona worries me. But you can say the same thing about the defending of Real Madrid. Lucas Vázquez worries me. Lucas Vázquez worries me at the back post defending, because obviously we have seen it over the last 10 days or so that's an area that can be problematic. Whoever is matched up with Lamine Yamal should worry you if you're at Real Madrid. The way that these teams are set up and the structure of Real Madrid, or lack thereof at times, if they don't control the pace of the game and this game gets stretched, it exposes that back line that is not doing all that great. And then there's a question as to Andre Lunin, because Thibaut Courtois, you think he's going to make the big save, and Andre Lunin has made the big save in the past. But El Clásico, Andre Lunin, you haven't been playing. Here you go, Andre, go ahead, be a hero. That also is a problem, or could potentially be a problem for Real Madrid.
What are your biggest question marks, Sid?
Well, I think Ali has hit on the most significant one of all, and that's the position of that Barcelona defensive line. And it's not just in this Bayern Munich game. We saw it the weekend against Sevilla. Sevilla had 2 goals ruled out for offside. Another goal that was built in almost exactly the same way, which was a simple ball up the left-hand side. Dumbo came running in and scored. And watching them on Sunday, you thought, wow, if Bayern Munich and Real Madrid catch them like this, they're going to be in trouble. Now, and then you watch a period in the game against Bayern Munich when the game is basically played in a 20-metre strip. Both teams press very high with enormous amounts of space beyond it. And Bayern Munich were really, really close to making them pay for it. There's one when Harry Kane gets through and Iñaki Peña comes out to him. There's another one that Harry Kane scores and it's ruled out. Another one that Harry Kane delivers to Rafael Guerrero at the far post and they nearly score, and the goal that they do score. And at that point, to be honest, you think Barcelona are not going to win this. And it seems like an extraordinary thing to say when they go and win 4-1 against Bayern Munich and it's a brilliant performance. But they were on edge at that point. And the whole game was played kind of on a cliff edge, the whole game, because there was this sense of make a slight mistake and there's a huge, huge abyss beside you. And against a team like Real Madrid in particular, with the pace of Mbappe and Vinicius, that will without doubt be the biggest fear, I think, for Barcelona. From Real Madrid's point of view, and Ali said it as well, but I think we can simplify it, Real Madrid aren't playing particularly well, but they've got loads of great players. So far it hasn't felt like it mattered. The question might be, does it matter up against a team like Barcelona, who so far we've been very impressed with?
Well, they can close the gap on them if they do get the win this weekend. Real Madrid are favourites. They are at the Bernabeu, remember, against Barcelona. So they're favourites going into this clash. But what do our pundits say? What are the predictions from the team here? Let's take a look. Me and Ali going for the same result. However, Ian Dark and Sid Lowe both going for Real Madrid win. Ian, you've gone for a 2-1 win for Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think just it's that home advantage. And I don't know, maybe I'm like a lot of people. I've got this feeling that Real Madrid, and especially having watched that Dortmund game, they just seem to find a way out of every hole that you put them in, even when they're not playing well, as Sid was saying, and they're not playing particularly well. They weren't very good at Celta Vigo last week either. Could have lost that game, but they emerged with the win, just like they hammered 5 goals past Dortmund once they got it together. So I just feel at home they will get it done. And yeah, I mean, that Barcelona high line, can Flick really do that when he's playing against Mbappe and Vinicius? Or have they got to have a rethink?
Oh, well, Sid, you're going for the same, not the same result, but the same outcome, Real Madrid winning this clash.
Yeah, I'm just realising how disappointed I am in myself that I've allowed you and Ali to steal my evergreen prediction for the Clasico. I always go for 2-2, and this time I've been a little bit bolder. I think in recent years, obviously, we've seen Real Madrid get the better of the Clasico. It does feel like it's a more even Clasico than it's been over the last 2 or 3 years, but I just feel like Madrid will find a way to get that extra goal. I've gone for 3-2, by the way, which, you know, at least it means it's going to be a really good game, one way or the other.
Quick one from you, LA.
I just think while we love what both of these teams can do offensively, there are reasons to be concerned defensively. And I actually look for this to be a very entertaining game that usually big games like this don't quite deliver the way that we should and we build them out to be. But it feels like both of these teams are carrying momentum to this match. I think 2-2, and it's going to be a great game.
Yes, this fixture always delivers. Ale will be on the pre-game for it, as will Sid. He'll be at the Bernabeu, and Ian Dark will be on the call. Make sure to be with all of them Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern for the game. But you should tune in earlier to hear what these guys have got to say. Coverage begins at 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN+.
Instead, I want to start by previewing the Clasico. Real Madrid favourites, Dawn. Is that fair, despite the fact they trail Barcelona in La Liga?
Probably because it's at the Bernabeu, probably you'd lean towards Real Madrid, but they've got their problems. I mean, I worked on the Dortmund game in the Champions League a couple of weeks back, a couple of days back, and they were all over the place for 45 minutes. There's problems there. I think it's just finding the balance. I think Carlo Ancelotti's trying to find that balance. And I was wondering today how he might solve it and how he might go about it. Well, obviously, he hasn't really got a recognised number 9. If you remember last year, Joselu came in for a couple of games, doesn't he, as a recognised number 9 and scored 1 or 2 goals. And it took me back to managers playing like flair players on paper. And when you jot the names down on paper, you go, that is amazing. And it took me back to a World Cup, 2 or 3 World Cups ago. And I remember France playing their opening game against Australia. And Mbappe led the line. Griezmann was playing alongside him, and Dembele was playing alongside him, and all the midfield players, the Kantés, Pogba's, etc. But the front three on paper looked amazing, and they were awful in that game because it looks good. You go, rotation, they can do what they want, they're good players, and it never worked. And in match day 2, Olivier Giroud come in as a static number 9 and stood there, and all of a sudden France started playing off them, and they went on and won the World Cup. So I think similar problems for Ancelotti is finding the balance in the middle of the midfield, and also trying to do something, and maybe, I don't think Endrick will start, but maybe starting to blood him as a sort of recognised number 9 for that sort of focal point.
The big question in Spain this week, LME, after the game against Celta, I was lucky enough to commentate on that last week, and they won. They weren't great, but they won. But Bellingham got 1 star in markup. Now, they've kind of picked on him, and I think totally unfairly, because he's been asked to play a totally different role. He's more like a kind of Makelele, getting forward, supporting, helping, and basically, while the front 3 or the front 2 do their thing, Bellingham's having to be all around to make sure there's no space when they lose the ball. So where do you think they'll fit Bellingham into this side, Carlo Ancelotti, to face Barcelona?
Well, just regarding what you were just talking about, Jude Bellingham, and also based off Don's points, this is something that we continuously talk about. We talk about Mbappe's arrival and all these things, but Toni Kroos's absence is magnanimous in this Real Madrid side, and it's showing, right? So when we talk about Jude Bellingham, who, by the way, has not scored for the club since May, right? It's now having to deal with more responsibilities, as you mentioned. It's not a shocker to me that at this point, I actually see Fede Valverde as Real Madrid's man of the season so far, because he's also doing a lot. But because, now here's the caveat here, because El Clasico is coming with significant injuries that we'll talk about in a second, and it's answering your question here, MD. When Rodrigo comes out of this, which he is, he's not available for this game. I think that actually, by default, allows Carlo Ancelotti to push Jude Bellingham more up. And I think that what you'll see is Mbappe on one side, Vini Jr. on the other one, with Jude Bellingham as this sort of, a hybrid central figure with Camavinga and Tchouaméni possibly in the midfield with Valverde. So that allows Jude Bellingham to kind of do more of what he's used to, of more of what he wants to do, which is, penetrate the box, be a nuisance, be creative, and allow Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. to come from the width, which they like to do, and attack. I see that happening. But make no mistake about it. Real Madrid, as you mentioned in that Celta Vigo game, and yes, they won, they got a good victory against Borussia Dortmund, but Real Madrid at this point are relying so much, as always, on individual brilliance, Vinicius Jr. being the latest one, as opposed to a collective unit. Now, if there's a manager in this planet that's not worried about things like that, it's Carlo Ancelotti. But guess what? Barcelona, under Hansi Flick, are one collective unit. So this is going to be a super interesting Clásico because of those issues. But all the way concluding to Jude Bellingham, because of Rodrigo's absence, I see him pushing more centrally and up front.
Don, if you're Barcelona and you know that Vinny and Mbappe don't really press, it's a bit like when you played, right? Craig Brown played you as a kind of striker, at times a false nine for Scotland, because he knew you'd get work rate. And the defending starts from the front. But if it's not starting from the front, as far as Real Madrid are concerned, if Vinny's not tracking back, if Bellingham's all over the place, but if Mbappe's not tracking back, what can Barcelona do to exploit what Real Madrid are not doing?
They'll do exactly what they've done against Bayern Munich midweek. And they tore Bayern Munich apart. They were outstanding. I mean, Yamal, we've talked about him for such a young player. He's got such a wise head. Rafinha got a hat-trick in the game. Lewandowski was outstanding, leading the line. So if Real Madrid think, well, we can go into this game with players just attacking and not doing the defensive work, they'll be in for a hard game. Because the Bayern game proved for Barca, and it was 4-1, but it was going on sort of 7 or 8 because their high-line Bayern was just incredible, and Barca picked them off, and Rafinha had a great night. The middle of the park was outstanding. The work rate, I like the way Hansi Flick is starting to blood 1 or 2 youngsters. They played really well. They dominated the game. They're aggressive. So we always talk about boxing where you say stars make fights. This is a brilliant matchup between 2 fantastic sides, but the stylistically are completely different. So I think it's really fascinating when we touch on Mbappe as well. He's gone to Real Madrid thinking, I'm going to be the man. He is nowhere near the man. Vinny's the man. So how that dynamic is going to work going forward, and the positions that Kylian Mbappe's got to start learning or picking up. But to LME's point, I think he nailed it with Camavinga or Tchouaméni. I think now Carlo Ancelotti has got to start training one of those 2 young players to be a holding midfield player and make one of them, out the 2 of them, really, really disciplined. Because if they're not, and as I said, they all bomb forward, Barca will pick them off big time.
Does the Real Madrid midfield lack the quality to play out LME? They're ball winners, but they're not the best passers in the world. Is that an issue? Is that something Barca can exploit?
Yeah, I mean, Guti said it himself, the Real Madrid legend, and I totally agree with him. The issue that we have right now, and I'm sorry to sound like a broken clock here, but Toni Kroos's absence is really big here because he was so good at literally doing exactly what you're talking about, identifying the passes. There's a detachment right now with Real Madrid. Yes, Real Madrid fans will say to me, look, we're undefeated in La Liga. We just destroyed Borussia Dortmund, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, granted. But guess what? When I'm looking at your schedule so far, right, I actually have not been that impressed, right? Atletico Madrid, you tied 1-0. You lost to Lille in the Champions League. And so you've gone away from some victories because of your individual brilliance. And the midfield, Andy, that you're talking about right now is more of a workforce as opposed to the complete opposite of what Barcelona are about, right? Don was talking about the youngins, players like Marc Casado, who is playing out of his mind right now. This is a united, collected, well-rounded Barcelona midfield that, by the way, the great thing about Hansi Flick, and it's kind of the answer into the Real Madrid because they're the complete opposite. The great thing about Hansi Flick, what he's done, is he's made them so fit and so disciplined that they're not actually interested in what they do with the ball as opposed to what they do when they don't have it. The moment they recuperate that ball, and you saw it against Bayern Munich, the moment they recuperate that ball, boom, they come at you. Casado gets the ball, he looks out on the left side, and there's Rafinha, who's playing out of his absolutely individual mind. No attacker in major European leagues has created more chances than the Brazilian, right? And this midfield of Barcelona picks you up. Real Madrid don't have that right now. Toni Kroos used to do that. So they have to find a way, just like Don said, they have to find a way to hold steady, to have some kind of anchor, but at the same time, keep the chains moving. Because right now, you have Vinicius Jr., who's just wonderful, Mbappe, who's wonderful, Jude Bellingham, but they're not getting that reception. There's a real detachment. And that's going to be a problem in El Clásico. Yes, it's Real Madrid, but I'm really interested to see what Carlo Ancelotti is going to plan out in that midfield.
Bizarre, aren't they? It's bizarre because when you look at Real Madrid compared to, as you said, Casado and Pedri in midfield, who are very, very young and brilliant young players and fit and energetic, then you go to the Real Madrid midfield and you go Bellingham, Valverde, Modric, and you go, there should be enough knowledge there. Even though, Jude Bellingham's, he's played a lot of games, not so much for Real Madrid, obviously, because he's just been there 5 minutes, but in terms of the body of work that he's done over the last 5 years, there's enough knowledge there to problem solve.
Yeah.
But they're just so, it's good in a way because Dortmund battered them for 45 minutes, which is obviously bad, but it's great in a way that you can still lean on 5 goals in the second half. It's still great that you've got these attacking players in moments that can turn it on for Real Madrid. And in moments, I think we've seen over the last 2 or 3 Champions Leagues that they've won, they've done it on moments. I can remember PSG had them beat, Chelsea had them beat, Man City had them beat, and they went on and won the Champions League. So they're not used to not having the ball and getting the job done and finding a way. But this is going to be really fascinating when they're playing against 2 youngsters. You would imagine everything about the knowledge that I've picked up over the years. Experience normally wins. I'm not so sure in this game.
Yeah, and by the way, MD and Don, just real quickly, talking about like how Borussia Dortmund controlling some of the games, some other games we've seen it. Last season, Real Madrid got the double over Barcelona. But guess what? Barcelona were the better team in both of those matches.
Yeah,
it didn't matter because of individual brilliance. I'm just not so sure that's going to happen this Saturday. It's going to be really interesting.
It's a very tough one to predict. I remember being at the Clásico a couple of years ago. It was the first one. It was about this time of year when we had España week. And Real Madrid won by 3-1, so comfortable. And you thought there's just such a gulf in class right now between Real Madrid and Barcelona. Barca won the title that year. Now, in the summer, Dawn, you kind of thought Real Madrid, fresh off the victory over Borussia Dortmund at Wembley, 15th Champions League, absolutely flying, another La Liga title. Barcelona, new coach, Hansi Flick, they'll be lucky to get within an arm's length. But Barca go into this one 3 points clear. LME's come up with 1 or 2 ways that he thinks Barcelona have improved and impressed this year. What has Hansi Flick done overall that has got them in the position that they're in?
I think he's changed the mindset of the players, and he's also, I think, changed the mindset of the fans. I think over the years, Barca with Pep and Xavi have been used to a certain style of play, and it's sort of right into their DNA. If you watch Barcelona, you close your eyes and you think of Barcelona, you think of Cruyff and you think of Pep and you think of Xavi and you think of all the ball playing, like the Busquets and the Iniestas, all these guys who Messi's who was just ridiculously good. And it was the style that was beating everyone up. I think about sort of 18 months ago, 2 years ago, that was starting to disappear a little bit. It was all the stories off the pitch, the financial trouble that Barca were in when they were, like, I say, registering players, but they couldn't actually play, which was bizarre. And then it was really fascinating to see them go for sort of free transfers, like guys that didn't cost too much. People like Christensen coming from Chelsea. Alonso came in a few years back as well. And then you just thought, I'm not sure where this Barcelona club, not so much the team, are going. And then I think it took Hansi Flick to come in with this sort of German mindset of going, no. We might have to sacrifice a little bit of what the fans sort of were used to, in terms of dominating and sexy football and brilliant football and just, the tricks and the tempo that they played at and how cool they were and how fluid they were. And Hansi Flick's come in and go, well, I'll sacrifice a little bit of that for winning football. And that's what you have to do sometimes. Sometimes you can't just play just because it's in that DNA and you want to play it and you'd love to play it. Maybe you haven't got the players to do it. So he's sacrificing a little bit of the sort of philosophy from Barca, but he's doing it his way, and a little bit of sort of German along the way, which they're hard to beat, which is the most important thing. If you're hard to beat and you're winning games, that's better than any method of any philosophy that you might have as a coach.
2.5 years since Barca last won at the Bernabeu in La Liga. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang got a couple of goals. I think right now they would take a point if offered it right now, LME. What do you think about that? And also, Gavi came back after 11 months out in midweek. You're not starting him, are you? But you might need to bring him off the bench, and you'd have him available for selection, but would you start him?
No, I think Hansi Flick is going to be very careful about how to introduce Gavi in a game of such magnitude. I mean, Gavi, we know how wonderful he is, but he has gone through so much from an injury perspective. I think it's important to balance what he can do. And actually, it could be a plus for Hansi Flick to add that kind of player later in a game, depending on how the rhythm of it is going. But to answer your question regarding, would Barcelona settle with a point? I know we're not doing predictions yet, and I'm not going to give you a fully right now, but I'm telling you something. I am incredibly impressed with this Barcelona side. They are, by average, the youngest team in La Liga, one of the youngest by average teams in the world, 24. If it wasn't for Theo, the old uncle Lewandowski, that number would be even lower. They are playing with this discipline, and Don was talking about it, thanks to Hansi Flick, about what you do when you don't have the ball. They have like 6 or 7 graduates from La Masia starting the game, right? Lamine Yamal, Pau Cubarsí is what an unbelievable center back. So that and all of that culminates, Rafinha, Lewandowski, all that culminates to me that at this point right now, I am seeing a Barcelona with an identity, with a clear, strong, confident identity. And yes, sometimes we need to just rip up the notebook when it comes to El Clásico, because it's a game of such dramatic importance that it doesn't really matter what you say in terms of analysis. You just have to see what the two teams do. But I am so much more confident in what Barcelona do right now as opposed to what Real Madrid are doing, regardless of the fact that it's at Bernabeu. I believe in them that much right now. I may have jinxed them, but I think that at this point, Barcelona are showing so much off the ball, with the squad, whoever comes on. Oh, and by the way, they have Lamine Yamal.
Who wins, LME?
I think Barcelona win this.
Prediction?
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. It could be one of the most entertaining Clásicos we have seen in a decade, and I think it's going to be something like 3-2 Barcelona.
Oof, wow. Don?
I've got like a little monkey on there telling me it's Barca, and another one there saying moments Real Madrid. And I just think the Real Madrid boys, when they need a result, when Bellingham needs a goal, when Mbappe needs a performance, with Vinny, I think they get the job done at home 2-1.
Yeah, MD, just very quickly that we haven't discussed, and I'll be very quick. Thibaut Courtois is out. Dani Carvajal is out. Rodrigo is out. Toni Kroos is not playing there anymore. These are key injuries for Real Madrid. And yes, I hear Don, this is Real Madrid. They just show up when they show up. But those are key absences, and I'm going to be very intrigued to see how they perform against a very confident Barcelona.
And Barca getting so many players back. I'm going to go for a Desmond. What's a Desmond, Don?
2-2.
I knew that too.
So we've got everything covered. We've got a Barca win, we've got a draw, and we've got a...
One of us are going to be right.
Exactly.
There's a genius somewhere on this panel.
We shall revisit that next week on ESPN FC Live. Now, turning our attention to the Premier League. Simple question to begin with. Ahead of the weekend action, Don, who has surprised you the most? Who has maybe overachieved, or just, I wasn't expecting that since the start of the season for you?
3 teams, really. Brighton are one of them. Aston Villa for sure, because Unai Emery's building something brilliant there. But I thought at the start of the season they would remind me of Newcastle a little bit when they got in the Champions League, and they might just find it a little bit difficult. They haven't. Unai Emery's got the players playing great. I think Liverpool, though. I think under Arne Slot. I think, from all the talk in the summer and all the emotion last season of Jurgen Klopp moving on and leaving the legacy that he left behind, and then the chat was in the summer while everyone was buying players. Well, Liverpool fans were like, we haven't signed anyone. Like, how come we're the only club that's not signed anyone? It's all on FSG. And then Arne Slot come out and he was brilliant in an interview. He went, how do I buy players for Liverpool when I've got the players that I've got? How do I buy a better centre-half than Virgil van Dijk? How do I buy a better right winger than Mo Salah? I've got attacking players. Everyone, was Zubimendi was the talk and screaming out for number 6. But what he's done to Ryan Gravenberch is incredible. So coaching from Arne Slot, maybe they don't even need a Zubimendi anymore. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but Gravenberch's on fire. So to only lose that game against Forest and flawless, apart from that in the Premier League, and flawless in the Champions League, my days, what a job he's done. Incredible job. I mean, Jurgen Klopp, I got asked the question a few months ago, if you're building a Mount Rushmore of Liverpool managers, who are they? And it was impossible. Joe Fagan, Shankly was obviously in there. Obviously Jurgen Klopp. Yeah, Kenny, and you try and sort of and you just go, it's impossible because they all had unbelievable eras at the football club, but Jurgen Klopp was in there. So that's some legacy that he's left behind. And Arne Slot at the moment is just very calm. He goes about things a different way. He's not spiky, but he's a little bit clever with the journalists. And they asked him about the game the other day, and he said, you didn't really dominate the game. And he went, did you watch the game? Well, you're not in the stadium. We dominated Leipzig. And what he's doing is just phenomenal. So this is the acid test of the weekend, Arsenal away. But, I mean, weirdly enough, yes, because Arsenal have got 1 or 2 injuries and Liverpool are playing great and top of the league, I think Liverpool go into this game favourites, only just.
They're finding different ways to win. Away from home, they're tight. They're scoring goals. One thing that I was slightly surprised about, LME, when Stevie Nicol and I did ESPN FC Live straight after Liverpool against Chelsea, and he came on, he's like, not because he hadn't had his packet of crisps that day or chocolate.
You got this sigh perfectly, by the way.
Well, it's a Scottish sigh. It's kind of, that's a happy sigh for us. He was like, I said, what's wrong? Your team's just won.
Commentary from those games.
It's not what it was. It's different. I said, well, you've got to get used to that. This is the Arne Slot way. You can find a way to win by scoring a few goals, or you can win against Chelsea by not being at your best. So what kind of style are we going to get from Liverpool at Arsenal? And what kind of reaction are we going to get from Stevie Nicol?
Well, I think the Stevie Nicol one is easy to answer no matter what happens. It could be a 5-0 thumping. Stevie Nicol's going to be thinking about something.
It wasn't 7, though, was it?
I love the legend Stevie Nicol, but come on, exactly. Now, listen, I want to echo a little bit of what Don said to answer this question, because Liverpool, to me, have been the most impressive, and they've been surprisingly so, because, like Don said, to do something, it's always difficult to come into a major club and take over, right? That objective and that challenge becomes even harder when you're doing it after a legendary manager, right? Arsene Wenger, Sir Alex Ferguson, and Jurgen Klopp, because of what he has done for Liverpool in terms of identity on the field and the relationship he built with the Liverpool community. And then Arne Slot comes in, never been in the Premier League as a manager, and he has done something remarkable. And to me, what you're going to see on Sunday is exactly what you have seen from the very beginning of this season. The great thing about Arne Slot is that he hasn't changed Liverpool. He has modified it. And sometimes what we do as analysts is we think, well, when a new manager comes in, what philosophies are they going to implement? What tactics are they going to try and change, etc.? But seldom do we talk about the fact that the best managers are the ones who see what they have in front of them, and then they see, how can I make my tactics fit what I have? How can we make a sort of, symbiotic relationship where my players are understanding what I'm instilling, and at the same time, I'm getting what I want from them? And that's exactly what Arne Slot is doing. He has created a team and a strategy that controls game. Possession doesn't mean control. And that was Arne Slot's point regarding the Leipzig game to the journalist. Possession doesn't mean control. He's controlling games in terms of pace, in terms of rhythm, and they're doing much more with less. So I think against Arsenal, who equally under Mikel Arteta have the identity of trying to control games in different ways, Liverpool are going to come in there and be calm. And they're going to understand when we have the ball, we have to be productive with it. We have to make sure that we push those chains. We have to make sure that we enter the final third the right way. We have to make sure that Trent Alexander-Arnold is protected as a right back and doesn't need to be lost so much going forward when he loses the ball. We have to make sure that Ryan Gravenberch, who is clearly, as Don said, one of the most important players for Liverpool, but he also has support. It's going to be difficult, and we've talked about this in the show. The schedule's about to get so tough for Liverpool. But I have been so impressed, and it's going to be a real tricky thing, especially because Arsenal's also dealing with injuries and suspensions, and it's a massive game for Arsenal, and we can talk about that. But Liverpool right now know exactly who they are, and I've been very impressed. The schedule's about to get real tough. The challenge is about to get real tough, so we'll see what happens. But so far, my God, very impressed with Arne Slot on Liverpool.
Yeah, just one blemish against Forest at home. Arsenal had that blemish at Bournemouth last week, also drew at home against Brighton, having had the man sent off. But Don, Manchester City. So I like to do a kind of compare and contrast. So I went back 12 months because Man City right now aren't playing the way that they were playing at their best. But they're still finding a way most times. They did last week at Wolves. So this time last year, after 8 games, they were on 18 points and they were third. And I know your mind kind of plays tricks on you, but you kind of think, yeah, that Man City team last season with De Bruyne available and Foden available when he was flying is probably a better team than the one right now when De Bruyne is injured and Foden's not getting too many games right now. Yet this Man City team has 20 points and that team had 18, was in third, and it only got better as the season wore on. So they're still title favourites for you?
100%. And you can go back many a year, and Man City traditionally, before last season, were really slow starters. Remember one year when they won the league about 3 or 4 years ago, I think after about 10 games, they were sitting sort of in 10th, or might even be close to sort of bottom half of the league. Never phased them. They play the way. The one thing I would say is when you try and compare and contrast what Arsenal, Liverpool and City do, Liverpool have got a loss in them. Arsenal have got a loss in them. City don't lose. City do not lose games. Unbeaten this season, unbeaten in the Champions League, they win games even when it's against them. When you think Wolves are going to get a 1-1 draw, John Stones finds a winner. Even when Arsenal are winning and they find an equaliser through John Stones, they know how to get, and it might just be a draw, but they never lose. You're going to have to be some team to beat them. And it puts that then puts an awful lot of pressure. You imagine if you're playing for any of the top sides, if you're playing for Liverpool, say, and you're playing for Arsenal, mention Villa, I mentioned 1 or 2 teams like Chelsea, and you know before you kick a ball in pre-season, to win the league, you've got to hit 95 to 96 points to win the league. That's what City do on average. It's frightening. It's unbelievable that the bar they've set over the years is saying to every other team, you go and dare lose 3 or 4 games in the Premier League and you are done. I mean, the pressure's on Arsenal this weekend because everyone's talking. If Liverpool go there and beat Arsenal, Liverpool will be 7 points clear. And Man City, every chance they're going to beat Southampton, will be 6 points clear. All of a sudden, then you worry for Arsenal going, your title race is gone. Your title race is nearly history inside 11 games. Because as I said, City don't lose. So to give them that advantage, I mean, it puts City in the box seat this weekend because they've got the popcorn game where you would have thought they're going to win, and the chances are they're going to win, and they will win. And
you
they can
triple
then
captain Erling Haaland if you're playing.
And then you can sit back and go, yeah. And then you can go back, and then all the players and the manager can sit back and watch the Arsenal game thinking, oh, the draw would be nice here.
Just going back to something you said about the poor start to the season, yet still winning the title. It was 21-22. And they got 93 points, and Liverpool got 92. They were 19th after game 1. They were third after 8 games, but they went from 19th to 12th to 9th to 7th to 6th for 3 weeks. It was a really poor start to the season. It's a case of if the other teams don't start well and get the points on the board, they're a horrible team as a front runner, Manchester City, to try and catch LME, aren't they? They rarely slip up.
One of the things that I repeat myself over and over again, that if you want to beat Manchester City, you have to be perfect or almost perfect. And I more lean towards perfection because of everything that you guys have been talking about. This is a team that knows how to win, knows how to get things done, because let's be honest, the defensive weaknesses, we have seen them. They're a little vulnerable against the counter right now, but it doesn't matter for Manchester City. They figure it out. And this is always the conversation in the title race. When an Arsenal or a Liverpool or anybody around the area trying to fight for this title plays a big one, and we have this conversation like, is this a title decider? I always, lean to saying no. The title deciders are what the other teams do against other teams and when they drop points. Arsenal dropping points against Bournemouth, against Brighton, right? Liverpool dropping points against Forest. What are they going to do in this big schedule, right? Manchester City just get it done. They just get it done. Now, I will say that Rodri's absence to me is significant, and it will remain significant. And it is a very important thing to remember. They do have the players to cover it, but Rodri, who is the best player in his position, his absence is big. But this is Manchester City. This is a team that knows how to win. I will also say that there is a verdict coming in the spring of 2025 on alleged charges, and we don't know what's going to happen there. So I want to see how the outcome goes there. So there are other things outside of the football ground that
Jose standing by, isn't he?
Yeah.
Jose standing by for the medal.
Absolutely. You just don't know. You don't know, right?
You know, LME, yeah. LME,
But if we're talking about football only and what teams do, Manchester City is the Goliath to beat. Manchester City is the Godzilla to beat.
You said a great word there. You said a great word. You said perfection. That's what you have to be. If you go back to that crazy season when I think 100 points, 99 points, and Liverpool were nearly invincible that season. They didn't lose a single game apart from the game they lost against Man City, the John Stones clearing off the line. Otherwise, Liverpool would have been invincible and won the league. So even if you get close to 100 points, you daren't lose against Man City.
Yeah. There you go. So do we have 3 of the top 4 come the end of the season? This is the last set of fixtures in October. November's next, so we're still in the season's infancy. We're going into game week 9. But in whichever order, is it pretty much Liverpool, City and Arsenal, not as locks for the top 3, but does it really only leave us, Dawn, with one spot available for the top 4?
Yes. As we sit here today, I've got Man City winning it. I've got Liverpool second. I've got Arsenal third. And I've got a team that I thought would be nowhere near it at the start of the season, having watched them in pre-season, having been over with you guys in the summer and watched Chelsea's pre-season where they were terrible. Most of their players in pre-season played themselves out of the team. They were that bad. But my word, they've had a reaction. So my favourites as we sit here today to get that 4th spot is Chelsea.
Okay. LME, is it the 3 we mentioned, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, plus one other? Or are you taking one of the 3 that we've mentioned out and putting in 2 more?
Well, see, me and Don are like peas and carrots until the very end. I also have Man City, I also have Liverpool, and I have Arsenal in that order. But I don't have Chelsea, but I have been impressed with them. But the continuous underrated judgment of Unai Emery and Aston Villa, I still have Villa as 4th. Yes, you can say I'm biased, I'm an Aston Villa fan, but the proof is in the pudding, right? We are seeing this. They're still undefeated away from home. They continue to deliver at home. Things will get tough. And yes, the Champions League, which, by the way, they have 3 wins. They're leading the league phase table as well. This is a very good squad, and every single player continues to deliver. There will be obstacles in the way. And I have been impressed with Chelsea, but no, I have it. Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Aston Villa getting that 4th spot.
Your Honour, can I make one more point? Make one more point, Your
Honour. You can only have 4 teams. You can't do what we did earlier with the Classico.
But just to counteract LME's point there, and he makes a great point about Villa. Chelsea last night, all of their first-team players all sat on the bench. Cole Palmer not even registered for the conference. Nkunku on the bench. João Felix on the bench. I mean, incredibly, incredibly strong. So they are picking, at the moment, one team to try and win the conference and another completely different side to try and succeed in the Premier League. So that's pretty much unheard of.
I'm just still waiting for them to play and win against a legitimate top 5, top 6 team. They lost against Man City in the opener, good game. And, they lost to Liverpool, good game again. And MD, I've been on this show saying Chelsea are so good, very impressed. But I'm just waiting to see how this continues, because it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and how they do against bigger opposition. But granted, because they have a completely new squad, or different squad for the Conference League, Maresca has a great disposal for him to continue. But I want to see what they do against the big boys. But yeah, it's going to be tough. It's one of the tightest title races and Champions League spot races we have ever seen.
2 things about Chelsea. 1, I still think they need to sign a world-class goalkeeper if available. And 2, that squad is for the Conference League group stages. They're obviously resting players for the knockout stage, and then when they face Heart of Midlothian in the Conference League final, with Hearts having won their opening 2 games and flying right now.
Come on, Hearts!
Hey, that's what it's all about. That's
I'm cheering you on.
End of May.
Their method, Heart, is just keep sacking your manager for European football, because they've had 2. They've had 2 that are unbeaten.
Hold on. Our method is analytics now. Tony Bloom, the Brighton owner.
Tony Bloom is there.
Oh, forget that. Liam Fox had 1 game in European football.
Won this weekend, but this is not what it's about. It's not what it's about. We started with Mug Club. We had Don Hutchinson's old teletext of the score. Aston Villa. Very good.
Oh, and also...
Yes. Oh, here we go. That means nothing to the Brits, to most of the Brits.
I know.
As a guy who hosted a baseball show for 3 years.
They were like, "What? I've got one too."
There you go. There you go. Have some of that,
legend.
Mr. Paul Mariner.
Hey, just be lucky I don't have my 3-1 Peru Scotland.
Right time. That's it for ESPN of Sky. We'll see you again. We'll do it this weekend. Arsenal, Liverpool. It's a bad line. Nope. Bye for now.
Break it up.
Bye.
So the two sets of players who were just gathered around the centre circle while the club paid its respects to those who lost their lives in the two wars of the 20th century. The poppy is being gathered up from the centre circle line, and in a moment the usual footballing formalities will take place. Alongside me today, I'm delighted to say, is the former City centre half Steve Howie. Steve, we've had a chance to digest the sides and have a look at them. What are your main concerns in terms of what City have got to be worried about this afternoon?
Well, first of all, good afternoon. I think we've seen a couple of times this season, just City at times can just get caught on that counter, pressing everybody forward, and maybe it's just that little bit, you switch off, that slight lack of concentration. And we've seen it even here, like with the likes of Ipswich, when they've gone down on the first attack and end up, getting a 1-0 shock lead. But as I said, I think Southampton, of course, they've only got 1 point. But they do play a really good brand of football, and it's quite open. How open they're going to be today, I'm not too sure. So let's wait and see.
Well, it's City who kick things off, kicking from left to right as we look at it from the main stand, the Colin Bell stand here at the Etihad. And the reality is that City have lost just once here at this stadium to Southampton. And ironically, that was the first ever meeting between the two here back in April of 2004. The visitors in their change colours of yellow shirts and black shorts and yellow socks. And they're having their first opportunity to try and express themselves across the halfway line, but they come back into their own half again. It is interesting that they've included Adam Lallana at the heart of their midfield. It's only his second Premier League start since he joined from Brighton in the summer. And of course, he made his name at Southampton before he left for Liverpool in 2014. The Blues have just won the ball back. Akanji guides it back to Ederson, and Ederson has the ball at his left foot and starts to ease forward like a centre-half would do. Plays it out wide to Bernardo Silva, who plays it back to Joško Gvardiol. City just inside their own half, and now just inside the Southampton half. And it's out wide with Matheus Nunes. Down the left-hand side towards the edge of the area, plays it inside to Gvardiol. Gvardiol just turns away from trouble and then guides it back to Matheus Nunes again. And already you can see that the Southampton shape is solid and rigid, and even their centre-forward Cameron Archer was back doing his thing. It's always a difficult challenge for a team getting promoted, Steve. You've come up playing a certain way, you win, well, 2/3 of your game, and then suddenly you're in a division where you don't get a victory in your first 8. It is a challenge for any team that gets promoted.
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, they haven't spent a lot of money either. I think there was a period last season in the Championship, I think they went 25 games, something like that, unbeaten. So, of course, they're playing against top quality players now week in, week out. So they have to step up, and if they don't, then you don't win many games.
So far they've taken 1 point from their first 8 matches, 7 defeats. And the reality is that they've only scored 6 goals in those 8 games, 2 of which came against Leicester City last Saturday, a game that they ultimately lost. So they've got genuine concerns. They have within their ranks a former City Academy player in Taylor Harwood-Bellis, playing as a visitor for the first time here at the Etihad Stadium, and I know his family are out in force today watching their son. Did play for the first team a few times, Taylor Harwood-Bellis. FA Cup games, Carabao Cup and Champions League, but never in the Premier League. He was on loan with them last season, and he's here at the heart of their defence this afternoon as Guardiola comes forward for the Blues, getting towards the edge of the final third, taps it to Matheus Nunes. Nunes in the left wing position, plays it back to Guardiola taps it inside for Diaz. Diaz hits it from distance, it was on target, and Ramsdale makes the game's first save.
It's a decent save, it's a decent strike first and foremost. You could see the ball even where we were sitting, that was moving, so Ramsdale had to keep his eye on it. Fortunate for him, it didn't actually bounce just before him, it went straight into his arms, but still a good catch.
Steve's right, they didn't spend too much money in the summer, but one of their investments was in Aaron Ramsdale, who was ousted from the #1 spot at Arsenal. And well, one of the reasons that he was ousted from that position was the arrival of David Raya. But Ramsdale is always a goalkeeper full of confidence, even with the ball at his feet, but he's just made a bit of an error there, and he put it out of play for a City throw. Just on the edge of the final third, Guardiola with the ball in his hands, looking for some movement, throws it to Haaland, who chests it down and taps it back to Bernardo Silva, back further to Joško Gvardiol and on to Mateo Kovacic. Kovacic helps it into Akanji. Akanji in the central midfield area, lays it out wide to Gvardiol, further wide to Bernardo Silva, into the gap for Matheus Nunes, cross comes in, Haaland's at it and scores! First chance of the game, and you know who? Well, whenever he gets a chance, he puts it on target, and invariably it goes into the back of an opponent's net. And City lead 1-0. Erling Haaland, 14th of the season, his 11th in the Premier League. He keeps up his record of having scored every time that he's met Southampton.
Absolutely perfect start for City. Not the start you want as a Southampton player, and it's just the ball dinked in. There does seem a big gap between the two centre-halves, but if you're looking at this on a replay, you can watch Haaland. How strong is he? He just keeps the defender off, keeps him the wrong side of the ball. Haaland makes sure he's first to the ball, as I said, has his hand behind him. He's just keeping him off, keeping him at bay, and then he throws his legs at it, hits the ground, bounces up. Difficult for the goalkeeper. 1-0.
So the Blues in front with their first attack. They are hoping today to do what they haven't managed to do in their last 8 Premier League games at the Etihad, and that is keep a clean sheet. Indeed, in the history of their time in the Premier League, they've never gone 9 home games without a Premier League clean sheet. If they can grab one today, they will go top of the Premier League, because of course they're already in front through, inevitably, Erling Haaland. Now, just going to make the point, actually, that it wasn't an easy finish, but he got to it and tucked it into the net. Now Savinho on the edge of the area. City coming forward in numbers. Rico Lewis back to Savinho again. Savinho in the right wing position, trying to thread it through the legs of the defender. Goes back to Akanji, who clips it into the area. Haaland will give chase on the left hand side and keep it in play. Haaland hooks up, taps it backwards to Joško Gvardiol. Gvardiol to Foden. Foden back to Gvardiol. Gvardiol back to Diaz. Worth mentioning as well, Steve, it was an assist for Matheus Nunes. That will have done his confidence a power of good.
Yeah, I mean, we were speaking before the game, and we just sort of said I thought it was his best performance on Wednesday, even though he's been in and out. He got the goal at the end, but that for him as well, setting up the goal, brilliant. So you would have thought the players, his teammates, would be thinking, give him the ball, give him more of the ball, let him get into the game, let's see what he can do, because he'd be flying now after the performance, the goal on Wednesday, and now just created an assist.
He has. And he picked up 2 assists and a goal on Wednesday night, so he's in the groove. He's playing wide on the left-hand side, but at the moment the ball's on the right side with Kovacic. Backwards it goes to Akanji. On it goes now to Ruben Diaz. Ruben Diaz on to Joško Gvardiol. Joško Gvardiol tried the shot, and why not? His record in recent months has been outstanding, scoring some very, very good goals. Matheus Nunes wide on the left side. Good scoop ball in towards Foden, headed away by Bednarek. Ball cleared to the right-hand side, and the first chance that Southampton have had to come forward, and they lose the ball. Gvardiol was strong. Matheus Nunes wins it back. City have it with Gvardiol. On it goes to Bernardo Silva. Scooped in towards Haaland, but cleared by Bednarek. City try to win it back, and they do so, but it's a foul and a free kick to Southampton. Just going back to the goal itself, from a defensive point of view, you were pointing out something that you'd seen as that cross came in. From a Southampton perspective, what went wrong there?
I just feel as though the gap between the two centre-halves right in the middle of the goal is too big. You've got to be a little bit closer. And listen, it's easier said than done because it happens in a blink of an eye. But the ball comes into quite a bit of space for Erling Haaland. All he has to do, is keep his defender off, which he does do. And then it's the task of making connection with the ball to try and get it on target.
That's exactly what he did. It's what he normally does, is get the ball on the goal. Now Bernardo Silva charging forward for City. Bit of a gap for Savinho. Savinho on his left foot. Shot deflects, takes the power out, and it ends in the possession of Aaron Ramsdale. City 1, Southampton 0. An early goal from Erling Haaland. And it's worth mentioning that going back to their last season in the Premier League and including the 8 games this campaign, Southampton haven't won any of their last 21 Premier League fixtures. And it just shows you, as Steve mentioned earlier, they were in the Championship last season, went through an extraordinary unbeaten run, but the step up between the Championship and the Premier League, well, it seems to get bigger and bigger each year. Just look at the teams that went down. 2 of them were the teams who came up in Luton and, 3 of them, I beg your pardon. Luton, Sheffield United and Burnley all went straight back down again. Ball is wide on the right-hand side in Southampton possession. They've got the ball inside their own half, though. And Harwood-Bellis plays it to Bednarek, and they are trying to build, and they've got it to Archer, but Diaz was there, just in front of Archer. And City get it back to Ederson, who finds Kovacic. Kovacic through the central area of the pitch, plays it out to Bernardo Silva on halfway, wide to Matheus Nunes, but too strong, and it goes out for a throw. Southampton, it would seem, are playing with 4, not 5 at the back, but they're out of possession that much. It's difficult to know. Now they're coming forward. Gvardiol, I think, has been penalised for a foul, but the referee says, well, you might as well play on because the ball is still in your possession. And they're trying to come forward in the right wing position. Good strong play by Akanji, and it goes out for a goal kick.
Yeah, that's good defending. He reads it. Akanji gets his body across, shows his strength. I think it's Diblin, the centre forward. Decent player, actually a very good player. He's got the potential to be very good, but see Akanji just use his strength, his experience, sees the ball out for a goal kick.
And immediately City had sort of bouncing forward because they've played it from one end of the field to the other, and here comes Nunes. Nunes off the left side, comes onto his right foot, hits the shot. My word, that didn't miss by much. Well, we talk about confidence. Couple of assists and a goal on Wednesday, an assist already this afternoon, and the belief to have a go from a very difficult position. I think Ramsdale does pull his arm away at the end, but only at the end.
Yeah, I mean, he picks it up wide on City's left. Again, the confidence, he just comes inside, feigns to shoot, doesn't do it, feigns to shoot, then tries to whip it across, get his foot across, just doesn't quite get it where he wanted it, but at the same time, it's a great effort, just shows confidence.
Well, City almost dispossessed Taylor Harwood-Bellis. Haaland it was on Harwood-Bellis, right on the edge of the area. Referee's given a foul. If he hadn't have given a foul, City were surely in for their second goal. So City 1, Southampton 0. Forward comes Lallana, he loses it to Kovacic. Kovacic in that central midfield area gets a good round of applause for the way he won it back and the strength to hold off Lallana. Plays it to Akanji. Akanji on to Lewis. Lewis still inside his own half. Back it goes to Ruben Diaz. Diaz comes forward, Plays it out to Bernardo Silva, who was captain of City on Wednesday night against Sparta Prague. Ball goes backwards to Joško Gvardiol. Ruben Diaz, by the way, is captain today. Núñez down the left-hand side. Plays it down the line towards Bernardo Silva, who's followed as he comes. Plays it back to Núñez and backwards to Gvardiol. Gvardiol to Matheus Núñez again, onwards to Gvardiol and inside to the central midfield area where Diaz plays it to Akanji and Foden and Akanji. City dominating the ball. Lewis now helps it further wide to Savinho. Savinho dummies, tries to get down to the byline, clips in a low cross, and City win their first corner.
Yeah, Savinho does very well. It's very difficult for a defender when you're not. Why take the risk? If they continue to do that, I'll be very surprised if they don't get punched.
They're trying to defend a corner which is cleared at the near post. Foden whips it in left-footed, City's first corner. The danger that you've got as a defender against Savinho is that he can go outside on his right and inside on his left, so you're not sure which way to push him. There was a time when you kind of knew your winger could only go one way because he was either left-footed or right-footed, but being two-footed as a winger has to be a defender's nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's a bugbear for me that professional footballers now, no matter where you play, that you don't, and you're not comfortable with both feet. But if you're a forward and you can go either side, then it is a defender's nightmare.
At the moment, Núñez is trying to do that very thing. He gets to the byline, clips in a left-footed cross just to prove his dexterity. Lewis will keep it on the near side. Plays it back to Akanji and on to Savinho and back further to Ruben Diaz. Diaz midway inside the Southampton half. Foden plays it out wide to Núñez. Núñez down the left wing position. Plays it inside to Bernardo Silva. Clipped in well just above Haaland and defended by Kyle Walker-Peters. Back to Ramsdale. Ramsdale in an all bright orange kit holds on to the ball. Difficult challenge for a team who comes here at the best of times, but when your confidence is brittle, well, it's even more of a problem. Southampton coming forward down the right-hand side. They've got it in the possession of Tyler J. Dibbling, their teenager, but City will win it back through Ruben Diaz, who gets there in front of Matheus Fernandes and clears it for a Southampton throw. Southampton throw taken short, but in the right wing position. Southampton with quite a few players forward in this attack, trying to find a way of breaking the Blues down if they possibly can. They're in their middle third on the halfway line now with Bednarek and Harwood-Bellis. City in their shape, trying to stop Southampton from trying to express themselves. Bednarek on to the captain Stevens. Stevens back to Bednarek and all the way back to Ramsdale. Ramsdale pushes it into Lallana. It's good football from Southampton. They're beating the City press, which is why they persevere with that sort of philosophy of playing out through the goalkeeper. But they haven't made too much progress despite beating the City press. They're still inside their own half of the field. Bellis plays it on to Bednarek and it's on to Matheus Fernandes, the central midfielder. Portuguese under-21 international, signed from Sporting Lisbon in the summer. Ramsdale's got the ball at his feet, plays it straight to Foden, which is a shocking ball. City get it back with Diaz. Diaz on to Bernardo Silva. Inside it goes to Akanji. Well, I'm all in favour of teams playing out from the back and it being a much more attractive way of playing, but sometimes you've got to be a little bit more sensible.
Well, you have. I mean, one of the reasons was the fact that Ramsdale left Arsenal was the fact of he's not bad with his feet, but he's not rare. Like, he's very good. I mean, you've got a goalkeeper down the other end who's completely different level, but he's trying to play those passes, which are, you know, it's a slide rule pass. It's a difficult pass for an outfield player, let alone a goalkeeper.
Yeah, and he tried it, and City won it back. Southampton are trying to win the ball back off City with Matheus Fernandes, who wins a throw off Savinho. Russell Martin applauds Matheus Fernandes for flicking it off Savinho. Southampton throw about 5 metres inside their own half, although it's been taken much further back than that. Stevens has got it, loses it, and then wins it back a second time. Plays it to Bednarek, who plays a long ball which should get picked off by Gvardiol. But then Southampton win it back again, and now they're trying to advance through Flynn Downs. Downs, the midfielder, out to Dibbling. Dibbling down the right side, City win it back. Foden, now Akanji, just inside the City half. On it goes to Ruben Diaz, and then out wide to Bernardo Silva. 18th minute at the Etihad Stadium. City 1, Southampton 0. If that's the score at full time, the Blues will be top of the Premier League, just above Liverpool, who play away at Arsenal tomorrow afternoon.
Lallana not happy there with the referee, Tony Harrington, but it's great positioning by Phil Ford, and he's just found himself, as you see, in that little pocket, so it's behind the midfield and in front of the back four, and then he can turn and drive in. So he's looking to play one of his teammates in. You can see Lallana on the replay tugging him back. It's a definite foul. Can't understand why Lallana's complaining.
No, I wasn't sure either when I saw it first time, and I was even less convinced why he thought it wasn't a foul when I saw the replay. So a free kick to City. It's not in shooting range. Southampton have got a line of about 6 players, almost between the penalty spot and the 6-yard box. As the ball comes into the area from Foden, it's too hard. Diaz had pulled away at the far, which I think was part of the routine, but it was too firm, and it goes out for a goal kick.
That's the right idea, just to curl it around to the back post, but unfortunately just put a little bit too much on it. Phil, knowing his quality, will be a little bit disappointed with it. What a good idea.
It was. Just looked at the monitor of the replay of the goal that separates the two. Matheus Nunes cross and a Erling Haaland prodded finish. It wasn't easy. First thing he had to do was have the strength to hold off Bednarek. Second thing he had to do was make sufficient connection to get it beyond Ramsdale, and he did both. And City lead. I don't think they've had another attempt on target. In fact, I'm sure they haven't, because a shot from Nunes is probably the only thing they've done apart from that. But now Southampton have beaten the press, and they're coming forward through Lallana, and the ball goes wide. Good ball. Manning now, chance to cross it from the left wing, clips in a ball to the far side. Gvardiol will win that, and City will get it away. But that's Southampton at their best, playing through the thirds, beating the press, and then getting to the final third, and they did it well. They've got it in central midfield now with Downs. There is a definite method in their play. Walker-Peters helps it on. Now it's Dibbling on the right side. Downs. Good football from Southampton. You can see why they stick to these principles and why those principles got them out of the Championship. Ball in central midfield. They pass it around with genuine rhythm. The ball's with Taylor Harwood-Bellis. Only just inside the City half though. Plays it to Downs. Downs back to Taylor Harwood-Bellis on halfway. Further across to Bednarek. Bednarek will have to go back to Ramsdale. Ramsdale looks up. Plays it out to Walker-Peters. Walker-Peters back to Ramsdale again on the edge of the D. Ramsdale to Matheus Fernandes and on to Walker-Peters. They've started to make their way towards halfway. Downs joins in. He's literally on halfway. Plays it back to Harwood-Bellis. Harwood-Bellis to Bednarek. Bednarek on to Manning and back to Bednarek again. Still inside their own half. Walker-Peters tries to get the better of Nunes. Finds Downs. Downs to Dibbling. Back it goes to Walker-Peters. And even though they've had possession for a couple of minutes, had it out of their own half for a couple of minutes, but they're trying to do it the right way, and now they lose the ball, which kind of sums it up in some ways, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, they've had a lot of possession, but they're going nowhere. And then sometimes they're passing it, and it's kind of a dangerous pass, because if they lose it there, then they're under pressure. Then all of a sudden they're running back to their own goal. I mean, they didn't in that little period, but when sometimes it does work, it's maybe just before that, when the goalkeeper, Ramsdale, puts a great ball in Lallana, he turns and he's in acres of space, and now all of a sudden they're on the counter-attack. But how many times are they going to be able to do that? And even then, are they going to make it count?
Yep. Genuine pertinent questions that will unfold in the next 70 minutes. Matheus Nunes plays it back to Gvardiol. City lead 1-0 through Erling Haaland. Matheus Nunes again on the edge of the area, goes back to Gvardiol. Gvardiol to Akanji. Akanji to Savinho. Savinho up against the left back Manning, tries to get beyond him, still holds the ball, plays it back to Akanji and on to Kovacic. Kovacic back to Akanji again, and all the way back to Diaz, level with the centre circle, and Gvardiol might have to go all the way back to Ederson. He does. So a feather in the cap for Southampton, pushing the Blues all the way back. Southampton have got a very high line, and Haaland's trying to stay onside, trying to tempt a through ball over the top. No one's wanting to deliver at the moment. Haaland is still toying with the idea of running down the middle to a through ball, but the ball's gone out wide. Matheus Nunes has gone in the left wing position, plays it on to Bernardo Silva. Cross comes in and it's deflected up into the air. Bernardo Silva tries to win it back. It breaks for Matheus Nunes in the left wing spot. Back to Gvardiol. Gvardiol, Kovacic, good shot, blocked. Rebound almost reached him, still not away. Dink to the far, and Ramsdale gathers it in.
Yeah, it's good defence, and I think it's Taylor Harwood-Bellis. He's the one that throws his body to it. I think if he doesn't make that, I think it's troubling the goalkeeper, definitely, if not going in. But a good break from City. It's getting back to Southampton at times. You know, they are playing this, it's basically risk-reward football, but you're not getting a massive reward from the little triangles that they might get out of.
They're still persevering with it. They're on the edge of their own area. I suppose you have to admire them for persevering with it. Lallana, they have escaped the press, it seems, but they've not got out of their own half. Walker-Peters up to the halfway line to Dibley. And City win it back briefly. Downs picks up the ball about 10 metres inside Southampton territory. And it goes to Bednarek. I imagine the percentage statistic will be not quite as subsided as it normally is in City's favour, but most of that possession from Southampton has been at best inside the middle third and ordinarily inside their own defensive third. They've got the ball now with Matheus Fernandes, I beg his pardon, on halfway. He plays it to Bednarek and then on to Harwood-Bellis, and wide it goes to Downs, still inside his own half, on to Dibley. Back to Walker-Peters and still inside their own half. Lots and lots of possession, but inside their own half. Matheus Fernandes on halfway with Savinho in front of him, and now they'll cross halfway with Walker-Peters on to Archer. Diaz comes across and defends well and guides it back to Ederson. Ederson pops a long ball out to Matheus Nunes, who is beaten to it by Lallana. I guess there was a kind of lesson, because there was an option to play it short, but Ederson's looked up, pinged a long one.
Well, exactly, and you couldn't three or four Southampton players out the game. Southampton are playing, and it looks nice, but they're not going anywhere. They're not doing anything. They're not really threatening. And if they do lose it in that area, they're under pressure.
As they almost did there as Steve was talking, but Downs just about nicked it away from Haaland. They've got the ball in the middle third, Southampton, and they're still inside their own half. Walker-Peters, it's a free kick for a foul by Matheus Nunes on Downs. 27th minute, City 1, Southampton 0. Bednarek on to Lallana, back to Bednarek, and it goes to Harwood-Bellis. Harwood-Bellis to Walker-Peters. Still inside their own half of the field. Ball is with Matheus Fernandes. Matheus Fernandes on to Manning, and the ball's back inside their own half again. Bednarek back to Ramsdale. Ramsdale playing it across to Walker-Peters. Walker-Peters back to Ramsdale, on to Bednarek on the edge of the area. Bednarek helps it on into the possession of Manning, but still inside their own defensive third. Ball back to Ramsdale. Ramsdale on to Harwood-Bellis. Harwood-Bellis to Walker-Peters. Back to Ramsdale again. Lots and lots and lots of Southampton possession. Very, very little territory gained. Ramsdale on to Lallana. Lallana helps it on. Tries to guided into the path of Stevens, and then on it goes to Downs and Walker-Peters. Walker-Peters now, maybe they can drive into City territory. They have the opportunity with Dibbling. No, it's too short. City get it back with Savinho, and now Southampton are in trouble. And Savinho, and he taps it. Oh, he should have done. He should have laid it off. He got caught in possession. He's so keen to score his first ever City goal that instead of passing it into the channel for Haaland, maybe for a one-on-one, he kept on going, dwelt too long and lost the ball. But there, in a nutshell, was why Steve is talking about minor reward for all the risk.
Yeah, and it was nearly, super costly. Says Savinho does really well. I think he's got two options. Does he shoot or does he pass into Erling Haaland? I think he kind of just thinks about it just for that split second too long. One of the Southampton players gets back, and actually it's a very good tackle, but it's a prime example of you're passing it, it looks nice, it looks comfortable, and then all of a sudden, misplaced pass, you're bang in trouble.
Boy, were they in trouble before Savinho got tackled right at the very, very end of maybe shooting or laying it off. Anyway, City have got the ball now with Gvardiol. Wide it goes to Matheus Nunes. Matheus Nunes in the left wing position. Back it goes to Gvardiol. Gvardiol hits it in low, and it almost broke for Haaland. Kovacic picks it up onto Foden. Little back heel, and well, there's trouble here, but Harwood-Bellis scoops it out of harm's way, and Archer heads it out for a City throw. Well, in the last sort of 7 or 8 minutes, City haven't had the ball that much, but on the occasions that they've had it, their threat's been apparent. When Southampton have had it, just haven't even got out of their own half.
No, they haven't. They haven't. I don't think Edison's had a save. But Southampton has, as we said before the game. They'll play good football, but it's just not threatening. They're not doing anything. The possession will be one of the best possessions of a team here, but they haven't had a shot on target.
True enough. Which will be interesting for our possession game. Anyway, here's Akanji. On to Savinho in the right wing position. Trying to get down to the byline, and he does do, and he clips it in, and it was Downs who got it away. And Manning prevents the corner. Savinho picks it up for the Blues. Bends across to the far side. Matheus Nunes arrives on it, takes a deflection, corner.
Good play by Savinho again. It's dangerous, as we spoke about earlier. A defender's nightmare because he's very good with both feet. He can come inside and whip one in with his left foot, go at the byline. Can he dink one up or whip one across? Difficult for defenders.
It is, and they've got a corner to defend. It's going to be an in-swinger. Haaland jumps, got just about to it, but couldn't direct it. Savinho then wins another corner. City's third corner of the first half. 30 minutes have gone. City 1, Southampton 0. City scored with their first attempt of the match. Erling Haaland from a Matheus Nunes cross. They've had a couple of opportunities since. No real, genuine, clear-cut ones, though. What can they do from the corner? Foden whipping it in deep. It's above Haaland. It's cleared by Stevens. Picked up by City's furthest back, Lewis. Onwards to Matheus Nunes, left wing position. Trying to get beyond Harwood-Bellis. Plays it inside to Gvardiol. Gvardiol taps it back to Lewis. Lewis helps it on. Now Matheus Nunes again. Little dink in. Cleared away by Manning, and out for a City throw on the far side. Matheus Nunes scrambles across to get to the throw. Gives it up, leaves it to Gvardiol. Gvardiol with ball in right hand, and then throws it back to Ruben Diaz. On to Kovacic. Kovacic into the gap for Gvardiol. Gvardiol crossing position. I think he's overhit it, but he's won a corner. So a City corner. Looked as though Gvardiol had overrun it, but he managed to win a corner.
Yeah, I'm just thinking he's took an extra touch when he didn't need to, and then, like you, I'm thinking, well, that's going to run out, but with his pace, he manages to catch it just on the byline, tries to get it in the box. It's closed out by one of the Southampton players, so another corner for City.
City have had a lot of success from corners this season. Looking to get some more success here. I think that might be another corner. So another City corner. Interesting stat, no team has scored more goals from corners this season than City. No team have conceded more goals from corners than Southampton. City noted for hitting corners short, but not this season. And they're not going to hit this one short either. Foden will whip it in towards Ramsdale. City players jump, headed away by Harwood-Bellis. Picked up by Lewis. Lewis on the edge of the final third, goes back to Kovacic. Kovacic and now Nunes. Nunes further round to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva to Gvardiol. Gvardiol back to Kovacic. Kovacic to Diaz, still in and around the middle third. On it goes, headed away. Oh, headed nicely back actually by Harwood-Bellis under pressure.
Yeah, it was a decent header back. He's on the 18-yard line and kind of cushions it and turns his body at the same time. Confident header.
Yes, indeed. Ramsdale plays it into Downs. Downs mishits it, and City have a throw deep inside Southampton's final third. And there it is again, risk and reward. Not much reward, plenty of risk. City have the ball with Matheus Nunes. Backwards it goes to Ruben Diaz. Ruben Diaz plays it into Lewis. Lewis looks to his right to Savinho. Savinho on the edge of the area plays it to Lewis. Back to Savinho, on to Kovacic. And it's cleared. No, it's not. Dummied again by Harwood-Bellis. Ramsdale picks it up and City will win it back because, again, they've over-elaborated. It's going to cost them soon, there's no doubt about it. The ball's wide with Matheus Nunes. Matheus Nunes into Bernardo Silva. Little cross towards Savinho. Tried the overhead, nearly came off. Bounced off it. City pick it up with Kovacic. Kovacic into Diaz. Diaz coming forward. On it goes to Akanji. Akanji back to Diaz again. Diaz in the middle third, looks to his left, thinks about a long ball to Matheus Nunes, is in a lot of space. It'll eventually work its way there now. Now he's up against Walker-Peters. Comes inside, goes back outside, and it's gone out of play to be a goal kick.
He's unlucky there, tries to get to the byline, just runs out of pitch. He's unfortunate, but again, you know, you're trying to play out and it's tight, so the pass has got to be accurate, you know, spot on accurate. But the ball, I think there's a pass to Downs. I don't know what he's doing. It's as though he wasn't even looking and certainly wasn't expecting it, and obviously City picked him off. Unfortunate, another fortunate, it comes to nothing.
Well, they're coming forward now through Matheus Fernandes, and it was a good tackle by Mateo Kovacic to stop it. Southampton throw, taken quickly up towards Archer, but Akanji's there, and it goes out for another Southampton throw. They're level with the edge of the City penalty area, and they have the ball in the hands of their left-back Ryan Manning. And it looks as though they're winding up a long throw, so there's 3, 4, 5 big men who've gone into the area, ready for this long throw into the box. They've got Harwood-Bellis, they've got Stevens in there. It's coming towards the near post area. Haaland tried to win it, helped on by Harwood-Bellis. Lewis clears it only as far as Walker-Peters. Back further to Bednarek. Bednarek hits a long diagonal ball. Bernardo Silva can't get to it. Gvardiol does, and then Bernardo Silva keeps it on beautifully and brings in Gvardiol. Gvardiol tried to play the ball forward, and it goes out for a throw. I suppose it's the ultimate question, isn't it, Steve? Your principles have got you out of the division that you were in, and then you try to stick with them in the Premier League. You lose 7 of your first 8. At what point do you think we should go to plan B? I'm going to hold you on that thought because Savinho's attacking, and on it goes to Matheus Nunes in the penalty area, back to Savinho, but Southampton have won it back. Yeah, what is the answer to that question?
It's a difficult one because the manager obviously believes in his philosophy 100%, and he's committed to it. And I think sometimes the players could be all on board, and rightly so. But I think when results is going against you and going against you, and yes, at times you're playing some lovely football and you're getting out of tight little areas and it looks great, but ultimately, football is about winning games. And I think sometimes you might get players that, especially the senior ones, to be looking like, can we have a word with the manager? And then more or less sort of saying, listen, Gaffer, we're going to be set adrift here. Can we change things slightly? You know, not massively. And then see what he does from there.
Oh, and they've given it away just on cue. Bernardo Silva in the penalty area. Oh, almost a second goal. I think it's deflected out for a corner. The City fans behind the goal think there might have been an arm in there. All those who were behind the goal had a better view than we did, and they said penalty. Let's have a look. No, you can't give that because he's used his arm to maintain his balance. So the rules specifically state that you can't be given for a penalty in those circumstances, so it will just be a corner. But right on cue, we were discussing it, they gave the ball away, City almost scored, and That is why it is such a risky strategy.
It is. It's a let-off. I mean, again, Ramsdale, he doesn't see the Man City player then. Straight away, they're on the back foot.
Absolutely. So here comes corner number 6 of the first half for City, with 8 minutes to go. City lead 1-0. They've gone short. Foden clips it in. Different angle. Headed away by Bednarek. Foden picks it up. Guides it back to Lewis. Lewis into the path of Matheus Nunes. Matheus Nunes back to Foden again. Foden on to Lewis. Lewis looks up and plays it out wide to Matheus Nunes. Matheus Nunes in the left wing. On it goes to Gvardiol. Gvardiol helps it back to Lewis. Lewis out to this near side to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva taps it into Kovacic. Kovacic to Savinho. Savinho on the edge of the area. Savinho trying to sell a dummy or two. Works an angle for a shot but decides against it. Back to Bernardo Silva. On to Rico Lewis. Back to Savinho again. Inside the penalty area, Savinho. A couple of step overs and a drop of his shoulder, and then he wins another City corner.
He does really, really well there. As soon as he gets the ball, not only has he got his man to contend with, another Southampton player comes across and doubles up on him, which is difficult, but he still manages to do it because he comes, is he going to go on his left foot? No, comes back, tries it with his right foot, and he gets a corner.
So corner number 7 of the first half. Phil Foden will swing it in. Deep one this time, headed away this time by Stevens, goes out for a throw on the far side. So 7 corners, Southampton have cleared them all. Gvardiol wide to Matheus Nunes. Matheus Nunes, left wing position. Back it goes to Kovacic. On it goes to Gvardiol. Gvardiol into Bernardo Silva. On it goes to Matheus Nunes. Matheus Nunes back to Gvardiol, shooting position. Oh, he's got it wrong this time. I think we're surprised when he gets it wrong with his technique.
Absolutely, it was pretty much the same area it was against Wolves. And on that occasion, he absolutely whipped it in the top bins. But this time, just gets a little bit underneath it. It's just unfortunate. But as you rightly see, I mean, he's been in decent form as well. So you kind of half expected at least to hit the target. So he'll be disappointed with that, but still a good effort.
On our monitor came up a couple of close-ups of 2 very famous City people. One, of course, Kevin De Bruyne, still on a watching brief, still not back to full fitness. And then Noel Gallagher, who seems to pop up home and away these days. And, of course, he is very much in the news with Oasis reforming for concerts next summer all over the UK. Ball is in the possession of Diaz. Helps it out wide to Matheus Nunes. Nunes in the left wing position. Plays it back to Gvardiol. Gvardiol back to Nunes again. Nunes walking pace back to Gvardiol. Gvardiol helps it further back to Diaz. Diaz onto Akanji, and Akanji might have to go back to Ederson. No, he doesn't. Plays it to Diaz, and now Gvardiol, and now he might have to go back to Ederson. A rare touch of the ball for City's goalkeeper. Ederson taps it out to Diaz under no pressure. 5 minutes to half-time. City 1, Southampton 0. An early goal from Erling Haaland and a couple of chances since. Nothing too dramatically clear-cut, but City in control. Ball with Matheus Nunes. On it goes to Foden. In and around the final third, Foden. Plays it back to Diaz. Diaz helps it across to Akanji. Akanji helps it further to this near side to Savinho. Savinho back to Akanji. Akanji into Kovacic, but Southampton win it back through Downs, and then Archer tries to bring it away. Counter-attack now with Dibbling. Dibbling down the right side. Archer's continued his run. City try to win it back, and they do with Lewis. Lewis onto Kovacic. Kovacic into the gap for Haaland, and then Foden plays it to Haaland. Haaland now, can he get his shot in? The answer is no. Good defending by Bednarek, and now they bowl it out quickly, and now they might catch City out on the counter, and they might have it with Lallana. And Lallana surges forward, but he's losing it to Savinho, and Savinho tidies up.
Yeah, a couple of counter-attacks there. First one was Southampton, and then City, just unfortunate. Erling Haaland just takes control of it. It's a free kick to Manchester City's booking him here. But the ball gets cut out. It's a really good challenge by Southampton, but it comes back to Foden. He hits Haaland again, takes it with his right, tries to bring it in with his left. Again, good defending, but for that 30-second period, it was one side, the other, then the other. it's maybe starting to open up, but unfortunately we're just coming to half-time, but game is starting to open up just a little bit.
Well, Flynn Downs has just been booked for the challenge on Bernardo Silva. Downs was furious with the referee. He thought he'd won the ball. It's the first booking of the afternoon, and the upshot of it all is that not only has he been booked, Downs, he's also stayed on the deck. And Russell Martin has just been cursing and swearing on the sideline, and he might find himself getting booked as well. Yes, he does.
Yeah,
so
he
Russell
does.
Martin's booked as well.
I think what it's for, he doesn't book Downs for the foul. He boots Downs because Downs doesn't think it's a foul, and he remonstrates to the referee, and you can see him throwing his arms up. And the directive now is, if you're showing that kind of dissent, if you want, in front of everybody, the referee has absolutely no option. And then you look at the bench and it's exactly the same.
So Russell Martin and Flynn Downs get booked in that inside. Nunes, Walker-Peters comes to meet him. Back it goes to Gvardiol. Gvardiol back to Diaz. Diaz helps it on to Akanji. Akanji on to Foden. On to Savinho. Savinho getting towards the edge of the penalty area. Brings it back, then gets to the byline. Clips in a dangerous cross. Cleared as far as Gvardiol. Hit by Kovacic! But it goes out for the corner.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think it's a decent save because he hits it, and he hits it with power. Goal kick, corner kick.
Yep, another corner. Foden goes. Haaland's header. So City have had 8 corners in the first.
Just try and get it away. He's got no chance of catching it, no chance of sort of collecting it, so just puts his arms out at half his hand and goes out for a goal kick, a corner kick.
Yep, another corner. Foden goes deep. Haaland's at the far. That'll be a goal kick. No, it stayed on. Don't know how. And now there's offside against Foden for retrieving Haaland's header. So City have had 8 corners in the first half. Southampton have dealt with them all. So that statistic from earlier, that no team scored more from corners and no teams conceded more from corners than City and Southampton respectively, hasn't come to fruition yet.
You know, you're going at half-time, and I think Southampton managed to be reasonably pleased. So are the players. They have at times played some decent stuff. They haven't gone anywhere with it, but they've been quite comfortable. Man City haven't really had any gilt-edged chances. Got the early goal, but haven't managed to capitalise on that. I think Pep will be frustrated, but I think Southampton themselves, as a whole, they'll be relatively pleased.
Well, you're always in a game at 1-0. They haven't had a single opportunity yet, Southampton, but as long as they stay in touch, you just never know. It's 1 minute of added time. We're just entering it. Southampton have it with Ramsdale. Ramsdale literally walking out of his penalty area. No one coming towards him. Taps it to Downs. Downs helps it to Bednarek. Bednarek on to Matías Fernandes. Back it goes to Bednarek. Bednarek back to Ramsdale again. Ramsdale under pressure. Plays it into Downs. That's very good football this time from Ramsdale. Finds Downs. Downs hasn't got anywhere to go. City are going to try and pressure him into a mistake. Oh, and now they've prodded it through. And Archer's charging forward. Chance now on the counter. Can he score, Archer? He's hit the crossbar. Well, there you have it. Only seconds earlier I said at 1-0, you just think, well, you never know. There was the counter-attack. We've seen it time and time again this season, and they almost scored.
Yeah, he's through. To be fair, he's unlucky. Gets away. I'm thinking he's lost his opportunity because he stops. But having said that, he stops the defender. Then he goes again and hits it. He should hit the target. He should hit the target, but he hits the crossbar. But again, it's one of the ones that we spoke about before the game as well. Just that split second of switching off, and it could cost you. So the manager will be in the dressing room now at half-time going, if we stick to our plan, what we're doing, that's why he's a believer of what he's doing. That can happen. We might get another one of them. We're back in the game.
Well, watchers of City, and of course we are regular watchers of City, will tell you that often opponents score from their first opportunity. Well, Southampton almost did right at the end of the first half. They hit the crossbar through Archer. City so they've got as many options as they want. The Blues, of course, shorn today of the likes of De Bruyne, Walker, Doku, Grealish, Bob until at least December/January, and Rodri until next season. So down in numbers, the Blues, and options limited. But Southampton, I think, have made a tactical change. I haven't seen yet who's coming off, but Adam Armstrong, an out-and-out striker, is coming on. And the message clearly from Russell Martin is that we're still in this game, and rightly so. Yeah. And the player who's made way for him is the left winger, the teenager, Tyler J. Dibbling. So on comes Adam Armstrong. Now, he's more of an out-and-out central striker, whereas Dibbling was playing out on the side. I'm going to say that's a tactical switch. Steve, is that your gut feeling as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dibbling really he kind of struggled to get in the game, but Adam Armstrong is a goal scorer. He scores goals, but he also, I think Russell Martin will be looking at his team to, when the ball does go into the Man City defenders, to close them down, because he has got that in his bag where he doesn't let defenders settle, but he certainly knows where the back of the net is. He's a threat, so it's an interesting change from the manager.
It is indeed, and it's Southampton that get things underway. They hit a long ball forward, which they didn't do too much in the first half. Remember, right on the stroke of half-time, Archer stormed down the middle and hit the crossbar, but it's City coming forward with Savinha onto Foden. Foden hits the shot wide, not by much either. So Southampton brought the ball forward, lost it. City on the counter. Foden charged to the edge of the area, hit a left foot shot just wide.
Yeah, it's a loose header. Drops to Savinha. He does so well. Just drops his shoulder. He more or less puts it through the defender's legs. Plays in front forward, and it's a great strike with his left foot. Beats the goalkeeper. If it's on target, it's not going. It's going in. He's not saving that one, but just the other side of the post.
Would have been a goal in 21 seconds had that gone into the back of the net, which must be would have been one of the quickest of the season, bearing in mind it was the Southampton centre kick. So they kicked off the second half. City nearly scored in 21 seconds, but they didn't. So it's still 1-0 at the Etihad Stadium. The Blues were in complete control of the game. They never looked threatened from Southampton, and then all of a sudden, right on half-time, Archer storming in from almost the halfway line, through on goal and hit the crossbar. Haaland had given City the lead within 5 minutes. The Blues haven't really tested Ramsdale too much since, so they need to turn this 1-goal advantage into a 2-goal advantage. Foden on the edge of the area is fouled, surely that's a foul. Referee's allowed it to go. Okay, Kovacic has got it. On it goes to Matheus Nunes, left wing position. Nunes back to Kovacic. Kovacic on to Foden. Foden back to Gvardiol. Gvardiol back to Diaz. Diaz on to Akanji. Akanji just getting to the edge of the centre of the final third. Plays it wide to Savinha. Savinha in the right wing position finds Lewis. Onward it goes. Ruben Diaz. Diaz wide to Savinha. Savinha. Right wing position on the edge of the area, back to Akanji. Akanji plays it in field to Diaz. Diaz in central midfield. On it goes to Gvardiol. Gvardiol plays it out wide to Matheus Nunes. And that was a foul by Adam Armstrong. Might be a yellow card as well. It is. It's his first involvement in the game, Adam Armstrong, and he's booked.
Yeah, he just catches him. I mean, be interested to see the replay. I don't think he gets that much, and I'm just looking at it here. No, I think it's a foul. 100% it's a foul, but I don't think it's a booking. But just before that as well, I think Tony Harrington, the referees, let one go on Phil Foden. Is that a foul just on the edge of the box? Yeah, Phil complained, but it wasn't sort of really over the top as though that was definitely a foul. So I think he was trying to get the foul there. Certainly Pep was asking for it, but they are getting the foul here in a decent position.
Yep, crossing to shape on the cross the face of the goal by Gvardiol, and cleared for the first corner of the second half.
Again, I think with Gvardiol you expect him to do better. Seems to hit his forehead and the bridge of his nose. Doesn't really get the best contact on it, but it's good clearance in the end by Southampton to corner to City.
It is the first of the second half, their 9th of the game. Just about to enter the 50th minute of the contest. City 1, Southampton. Bale in the right place. It's a free kick in a crossing position. In hockey, they'd call it a short corner. It's just on the edge of the penalty area, but you can't score from it. It's too narrow an angle. So it's going to get whipped into the penalty area. Where the likes of Haaland and Vardiol and Diaz and Akanji are all waiting. No, it goes to the edge. Kovacic never got power in it. Cleared. Bernardo Silva picks it up. Goes back to Rico Lewis. Lewis getting towards the final third. Plays it to Foden. Onward it goes to Nunes and then to Savinho. Savinho pops it into the area and Haaland blocked. Right on the line. Oh, it must have come off Haaland last. I thought it came off the goalkeeper. Haaland can't believe he's missed it. Savinho drilled it in low. Haaland looked to get on the end of it and he must have hit the post, not the goalkeeper.
Oh, I think he's trying to stick it under the goalkeeper. I mean, it's definitely there for him to put in. Tries to put it under the goalkeeper, but into the far corner and just puts it past the post. It's a big miss. It's a big opportunity.
Yeah, should be 2-0. Haaland knows it. Your reaction tells you that. So City have had a couple of openings in this second half. Haaland had both of them. One a header across the face of the goal, cleared off the line, and then that from a Savinho low ball into the box, and he kind of opened his foot wide to maybe cushion it under the goalkeeper. Got it wrong and didn't even clip the outside of the post. It went straight into the side netting. Pep Guardiola couldn't believe it. Erling Haaland couldn't believe it. So we're in the 8th minute of the second half. City are threatening a second goal, but it is still 1-0. Free kick to the Blues, about 10 metres inside the Southampton half. Vardiol hovering over its delivery. Kovacic came short. Vardiol plays it to Diaz. Diaz to Akanji. Akanji on the edge of the centre circle. Plays it across to Diaz. Diaz just inside the Southampton half. Plays it to Bernardo Silva. Inside it goes to Gvardiol. On it goes to Ruben Diaz. Diaz plays it into Akanji. Still in the middle third, the Blues. Akanji goes back to Diaz on the edge of the centre circle. Diaz advances towards the final third but doesn't get to it. Gvardiol and now Foden, and Foden plays it back to Bernardo Silva and on to Gvardiol. Gvardiol out wide to Matheus Nunes. Plays it inside to Gvardiol. Gvardiol back to Matheus Nunes. On it goes to Foden. Foden plays it back to Matheus Nunes. All happening in the left wing position. Gvardiol on to Diaz. Diaz Goes back to the left again to Matheus Nunes. Nunes up against Walker-Peters. Plays it inside to Gvardiol. Gvardiol followed by Downs. Plays it back to Ruben Diaz again. 10th minute of the second half. City 1, Southampton 0. Diaz will probably go back, he does, to Ederson. Well played again, Southampton. Ball is in the possession of Ederson. Helps it on to Diaz. Diaz pushes it out wide to Matheus Nunes and back to Gvardiol. Gvardiol to Kovacic. Kovacic to Gvardiol. City very much in control, but Southampton still just about hanging in there. Ball with Bernardo Silva, lovely skills from him, and he brings in Akanji, and Akanji will bring in Savinho to his right. Savinho now on the edge of the area, into the area he goes, tries to prod it to Akanji, and Stevens prevents the corner. City throw.
Yeah, to be fair, Southampton is defending quite well, nice and tight, nice and compact. City find it difficult just to get in between the lines. But can they find a little way through? But having said that, now we said all the way along, Alistair, 1-0. Even though City have got the vast majority of play, it is still 1-0.
It is indeed. Now City with Kovacic, who trod on the ball. Archer wins it back, and Gvardiol wins it back, and then Bernardo Silva, but it's a foul by Kovacic. Free kick to Southampton, midway inside their own half. Well, you can't book Foden for that. No, you're booking Lallana. That's probably the right decision. Lallana hit the ball at Foden and said, Foden got in my way, book him. And then because he gestured for the booking for Foden, Lallana's the one that gets carded.
But he actually did it twice to Foden, kicked it against him, stopped it, kicks against him again. I mean, he's obviously trying it on. I mean, I don't know what he's trying to do. I don't think he's trying to be clever. He's trying to be something else. But I think the referee made the right decision on that one.
So Lallana goes into the book. 36 years old now, Adam Lallana, in his second spell at Southampton, and they're trying to play out from the back. They've just about done it, and they very nearly didn't succeed in doing it. Here is Lallana, turns, plays it back to Harwood Bellis. On it goes to Walker-Peters. You would not discount a Southampton equaliser. They hit the bar, and then a shot from Armstrong that Ederson gathered. So they've had a couple of moments either side of half-time. City do need the security of a second goal, and because teams who get promoted and then struggle in the bottom three have fragile confidence, you feel if City do get a second goal early enough, it could indeed be the 3 or 4 that we all predicted. But at the moment, Southampton are still in this game. Armstrong strayed offside though, so it's a free kick to the Blues just inside their own half for offside against Armstrong.
Just looking at Lallana, and totally agree with them. I mean, they've done ever so well. They've got out. Lallana's found a perfect spot. He's turned. He's played it to Anderson. Anderson's got his backside on the touchline. He can see right across the line. He knows when he's onside. He knows when he's off, and he goes offside. Frustrating.
It is Southampton still in this game though. Just 1-0. Gvardiol. Backwards inside to Ruben Diaz. Diaz advances down the central area of the pitch, plays it to Akanji. Akanji wider to Savinho. Savinho right wing position, back to Akanji. Akanji back to Diaz. Diaz in that central midfield area, plays it to Foden. On it goes to Gvardiol. They're going to bring on Aribo in a minute, another attack-minded player, Southampton. They are very much in this game. The ball is with Foden. Foden, Kovacic. Kovacic lost it, but it bounces to Gvardiol. Gvardiol out wide to Matheus Nunes, left wing position. Matheus Nunes inside to Gvardiol, and then Foden under pressure, plays it out wide to Matheus Nunes again. Matheus Nunes back to Foden, Foden on to Gvardiol. Gvardiol into Diaz, Diaz on to Akanji, further wide to Savinho. Savinho inside to Akanji again. Akanji back to Diaz, still about 35 metres from goal. Diaz plays it on to Akanji. Akanji getting towards the edge of the final third, plays it out wide to Savinho. Savinho in the right wing position, ball cleared by Stevens, picked up by Lewis. Foden, Akanji, Foden, all in and around the final third. On it goes to Savinho, wide on the right side, plays it in field to Foden. Foden back to Diaz again. City coming backwards and then going forwards and then going backwards again. Foden now steps forward, and he goes back to Diaz and Kovacic, and Diaz again. Diaz on to Akanji. Akanji into the gap for Foden, cleared by Bednarek and a foot up against Foden and a free kick to Southampton, and now they will make their substitution and they'll bring on the very attacking Joe Aribo, and they're taking off Lallana. Yeah, I thought it was. Lallana didn't look as though he thought it was him, but it is. It's Lallana. So Lallana comes off and Aribo comes on.
Yeah, Aribo, he's a danger, he's a threat. Southampton are sitting, and for the last 5 minutes they've been quite comfortable, been nice and compact. City have found it difficult to break them down as such. Obviously Russell Martin's looking at it and thinking, you know, just change it up, because ultimately for stays like this they get on the bus and they've won nothing, so he's going to have to change it to some respects. Probably not the style, but maybe it's just a bit more of a threat.
Oh, they've given it away on the edge of the area. Matheus Nunes couldn't ever bring it down, and it goes out for a goal kick. But again, it's that risky strategy of playing out from the back, and it was presented to Matheus Nunes, and as he was hitting it, he was just tackled by Matheus Fernandes, and because of that his shot was well off target. But it was a dreadful ball. I mean, I remember when one of the first things I was ever taught as a young player was never play the ball across the face of your own goal. That's exactly what they did.
Well, they did. I mean, the thing is, they've just had 5 minutes and they've been quite comfortable, and then they go and do something like that. It's crazy football at times.
Well, they've got a throw on halfway. Also, Martin's made a couple of changes. He's brought on Adam Armstrong, he's brought on Joe Aribo, both very attack-minded players, both with a decent record in front of goal, certainly in Scotland Aribo did, less so in England. But City have not won this game by any stretch of the imagination. Over an hour gone. The early goal from Haaland threatened to open the avalanche, but it never happened. Southampton have dug in and they've had a lot of the ball. They haven't made too much of their possession, but their belief is growing, and of course as long as they stay in the game, the more they'll believe they can get something from it. They're in the back four at the moment with Bednarek. Plays it to Matheus Fernandes. On it goes to Downs. On to Matheus Fernandes. There's a ball out wide to Armstrong, and he's now onto it, down the right wing position. You're not going to rule out the Southampton equaliser here. Matheus Fernandes guides it in. Vardiol prevents the corner. Cleared. Matheus Nunes under pressure. Aribo picks it up. Downs with a little skill. Lewis gets it away. On a knife edge this game.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Vardiol does very well, because it's going to come back for Armstrong, and he was just going to have to hit it with everything that he's got, and he's a decent finisher, so he's done well in the end. But City at the moment just struggling to get it away.
We're in the right back position with Foden, on to Bernardo Silva, up towards Haaland. Haaland, well, that's got to be a foul by Bednarek. I mean, it was backing in and it was pulling, so it's no cautionable offence. But they had to give something, Tony Harrington. He's given it to City.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially it was both of them. Both of them are dragging and pulling on each other, and then it's just a kind of a contest who's the strongest. I think Haaland wins the strength, so therefore, because he wins the strength, Bednarek's got no other option but to bring him down.
So a free kick to City. 18th minute of the second half. City have it with Lewis inside the middle third. Plays it across to Diaz. Diaz on to Akanji. Akanji comes forward, inching towards the final third. Plays it to Savinho. Savinho in the right wing position, into the penalty area, clips in a deep ball. Haaland, brilliant, off the line. Brilliant from Savinho. Wonderful header by Haaland, off the line for the second time. Akanji keeps it alive. Savinho in the area again. Savinho out of the area, onto Kovacic. Back it goes to Gvardiol. Matheus Nunes left wing position, and he gets to the byline, Matheus Nunes, and he's tackled right on the byline by Harwood Bellis. So 2 headers from Haaland have been cleared off the line in the second half, but it stays at 1-0.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to look at the replay. I think it's a really tight angle, and he's trying to just more or less head it back to try and get it in. Well, I think he gets a little bit of a pull, but again, I'm not too sure. I don't know. Do you think he should score from there out?
It's a funny header, isn't it?
It is.
He's kind of caught into, I think he's trying to score, but it looked like a cutback header.
Yeah.
And so it did neither. I don't think it was in fact, it wasn't on target. So it wasn't really genuinely off the line. Anyway, City haven't got that second goal. Haaland's had opportunities, but he hasn't scored them. I don't think that was as comfortable a chance as the one that he put wide when it was on his left instep. But anyway, we're in the 64th minute. City 1, Southampton 0. It's cagey at the moment. Savinho down the right side. He does well. The cross is too deep. Matheus Nunes will keep it on the far. In the left wing position, Matheus Nunes. Savinho definitely is the genuine threat towards providing Haaland with the goal. Kovacic in the central area. On it goes to Gvardiol. Gvardiol wide to Matheus Nunes, and it runs under his foot and goes out for a Southampton throw. And the impetus is lost for the moment. Southampton are still in this game. Pep Guardiola trying to encourage his players. It's so difficult to just carry on doing what you're doing, but Southampton are managing it. Now the ball's in the area with Savinho. Savinho, he trod on the ball. Trod on the ball and lost it, tackled himself practically. And now Southampton with Aribo on the counter. Kovacic comes across and wins it, does well. 65th minute, City 1, Southampton 0. Still the early goal from Haaland separates the sides. Haaland battling with Bednarek. And on this occasion, it goes backwards to Harwood-Bellis. Harwood-Bellis on to Walker-Peters. Walker-Peters tries to get the better of Matheus Nunes. Good tackle. Gvardiol on to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva back to Kovacic. Kovacic plays it in field to Akanji. Akanji pushes it out wide to Lewis. Lewis charging forward. Wider it goes to Savinho. Savinho back to Akanji. Crossing position, plays it to Kovacic. Kovacic further to Gvardiol. Gvardiol wide to Matheus Nunes on the edge of the area. Plays it back to Gvardiol again. Gvardiol in a shooting position, plays it to Diaz. Diaz out wide to Savinho. Savinho into the gap for Lewis. Lewis will turn away from goal though, and he'll win a corner. Yet another City corner.
Oh, we're getting to the point where the game's just going to open up. You can just hear the crowd there as you're speaking, Al. It's just starting to lift a little bit. Get the fans behind the team. Just let's hope it starts to open up. Yes, you'll be getting some counter-attacks from Southampton, but when they do that, it leaves themselves a little bit exposed. So can Manchester City cause them problems with that?
Well, the corner's come in. Ramsdale sort of got it, but it was cleared. And then Lewis backpedaling. Not an easy ball to deal with, and indeed he's lost it to Archer, and then he was strong enough to win it back. And he plays it back to Gvardiol. I tell you what, if Lewis had lost that, then it would have been all sorts of problems. And now, because it's a potential head injury, the referee has stopped the play with Foden charging down the right side. So Archer's gone down, and a bang to the head means the referee has to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, the referee is getting called off the fans. And I know it's frustration, but he has to make sure, of course, the player's welfare is paramount. You're just looking at the replay, it's just a kind of a forearm stroke hand across his face, nothing major, but referee has to do that.
It's not easy for referees because, let's be honest, players do exaggerate and play act, so they don't really know for sure.
Can't take a chance.
You just can't. So City have got it with Akanji just inside the Southampton half. On it goes to Foden down the right side, but still some way from goal. Foden plays it back to Akanji. Akanji further back to Diaz. We're at the midpoint of the second half. Still just that early Erling Haaland goal. City 1, Southampton 0. Savinho in the right wing position on the edge of the area. Backwards to Akanji. Akanji clips it in, and Walker-Peters concedes yet another corner. City's third of the second half, they're 11th in total. Southampton haven't had any.
So Walker-Peters did well there, actually. Just concentration was good, made sure he's sticking Nunez. Can't really take any risk, puts it out for a corner. Southampton, from these corners, actually have dealt quite well with them.
They have. Matheus Nunes delivers, and again it's cleared. Only as far as Savinho wanted to hit the volley. Archer dispossessed it. Kovacic, good tackle, brings in Savinho. Savinho plays it in field to Foden. Foden helps it on to Gvardiol. Gvardiol has to go wider to Matheus Nunes. Matheus Nunes inside to Gvardiol. Gvardiol away from Downs, pokes it to Diaz. Diaz on to Foden. Foden out wide to Savinho again. Savinho on the edge of the area. Akanji plays it in field to Savinho. Savinho back to Akanji. Akanji goes back to Foden. Foden inside into the possession of Kovacic. On it goes to Foden again. Foden to Savinho on the edge of the area. Back it goes to Foden. Foden works an angle, hits the shot, it's blocked. Savinho picks up the rebound. Wide on the right side, comes to the edge of the area. Still in his possession, Savinho. Savinho looking up. Lays it backwards to Akanji. Akanji on to Bernardo Silva, back to Akanji. Akanji inside to Foden. Foden on to Kovacic. Kovacic central midfield. Plays it into the possession of Foden again. Foden out wide to Bernardo Silva. Furthest over on the right side this time, Bernardo Silva. Back inside to Foden. On it goes to Savinho. Savinho clips it out to Gvardiol. Gvardiol in the penalty area. Tried the shot. Cannons off the body of Harwood-Bellis. Another City corner.
Yeah, I mean, it's good patient build-up by Man City, but just can't find that killer pass. But again, you've got to see it. You know, Southampton defending very, very well, nice and compact. They're not letting City play through the lines or finding that little gap, but have conceded another corner.
They have. Corner number 12. Hit towards the far post and out for a goal kick. Matheus Nunes delivered, and everybody watched it go out on the far side. So there's 20 minutes to go. Southampton's still in this game. City 1, Southampton 0. An early goal from Erling Haaland, and you thought, oh, here we go. It's going to be a 5-0. To be fair to Southampton, they've dug in, they kept in the game. Ramsdale's made a save or two, a couple of clearances off the line, and then Archer hit the bar right on the stroke of half-time. Armstrong had a shot gathered by Ederson, and still it is just 1-0. And remember, City haven't kept a clean sheet at home since March, when Arsenal drew 0-0 here, which is extraordinary. I mean, in the Premier League, of course, they have done in the Champions League, but not in the Premier League.
I think obviously you're looking, you know, at the time, just 20 minutes and added on time to play. It's been a relatively comfortable afternoon for Manchester City, but at the same time frustrating. And I think every game, and I'd said this before the game, not one time, even though Southampton haven't won a game this season, they've always been in every game this season. And it just goes to show with today's performance. It's 1-0, they've had one good chance, but they're only a heartbeat away from creating another one, and you never know what can happen with that.
Absolutely. Very few teams have taken them to the cleaners, and the only time they really got walloped, it was because they'd gone down to 10. And if memory serves, it was against Manchester United. They could have scored first through a penalty, but missed. Anyway, Matheus Nunes in the left wing position. Onward it goes to Gvardiol. Gvardiol back to Ruben Diaz. I've seen a lot worse teams than Southampton get relegated over the years, I have to say. The ball is in the possession of Akanji. The ball is with Lewis. Backwards it goes to Akanji. Akanji onto Foden. Foden on the edge of the area, weaving his patterns, trying to find a shot. It was blocked by Harwood-Bellis. Picked up by Gvardiol with a header. Now on to Matheus Nunes. Matheus Nunes plays it out wide to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva on the left wing position, on to Gvardiol. Gvardiol helps it across to the other side to Akanji. Akanji, well, he might have to do a winger's job down the right side. Plays it back to Lewis. Lewis to Savinho. Savinho on to Akanji, widest right at the moment. And it goes to Foden. Foden back to Akanji again. Akanji back to Foden once more. Foden tries to play it to Haaland. It takes a deflection, and Ramsdale gathers it in.
As I said, very difficult. Can't find any little spaces. It's getting frustrating now for Man City.
It is. The Southampton play out from the back, beat the City press with Aribo. Kovacic comes across and wins it well, but then Aribo wins it back, and he charges across the central area of the pitch and plays it back to Downs. Well, they've got options going forward. They've got the likes of Archer and Armstrong. Aribo can drive from the midfield. Manning's wide on the left-hand side at the moment. Ball's with Matheus Fernandes. Matheus Fernandes to Manning. Backwards it goes to Bednarek and back to Ramsdale. Well, a 1-0 win is more than adequate to take City back to the Premier League summit. But a nervy last few minutes if it is still 1-0, because Southampton have had the odd moment where they've almost scored, particularly through Archer. So it's on the left-hand side with Manning, still inside his own half. Ball goes into Matheus Fernandes, who crosses the halfway line, slips it through to Archer. Archer now getting to the edge of the penalty area. Real danger. Aribo on the edge, tries to get it onto Matheus Fernandes. On it goes to Armstrong, hits the shot over the bar, goal kick.
Yeah, again, evidence of, City are quite comfortable. They've got the ball, they're passing it around Southampton's box, but ultimately not being able to break them down. Southampton come on a bit of a counter-attack, but it was an attack that was actually well done. It wasn't one of these breakaways. Ultimately, in the end, Adam Armstrong, who has the shot, gets right behind it, but unfortunately just lifts it over the bar. But again, whilst City are comfortable, there's always that threat.
Well, it's just over a quarter of an hour left. I don't think anyone in this stadium thought that when Haaland scored after 5 minutes that this was going to be anything other than a procession. It hasn't been. It's 1-0 and Southampton very, very much in this game. Another Armstrong shot wide of the target reminds City that there is a chance of them conceding 2 points here. The ball is in the left-back position with Matheus Fernandes. They're trying to build from the back and they lose it. Goes out for a throw. Foden will take the City throw. Throws it to Savinho. Savinho back to Foden. I think if Pep Guardiola had more options on his bench, he might toy with the idea of making a couple of changes, but he hasn't got too many options. They're going to make a change themselves, Southampton. James Bree, who's a left-back. I wonder if Manning had a problem. I saw him gesture something earlier. Yeah, I think he has got a problem, Manning, the left-back. So Manning's coming off, and James Bree, who's a left-back by trade anyway, takes Manning's place. So Southampton have been proactive. They've brought on Aribo, they brought on Adam Armstrong, now they're bringing on James Bree, and they are not out of this game. Throw on the far side, City throw, I have to say, level with the edge of the Southampton penalty area on the right side. Walker Peters, I think, switched over to the left back position, and Bree's gone to right back. City throw. Lewis has the ball in his hand, right hand, throws it to Foden. Back to Lewis, Lewis to Kovacic, Kovacic back to Akanji, Akanji on to Ruben Diaz, Diaz plays it to Akanji, Akanji getting towards the edge of the final third, plays it to Foden, Foden in the right wing position, back to Akanji, Akanji on to Diaz, Diaz inside to Gvardiol, Gvardiol on to Bernardo Silva, wider still to Matheus Nunes, back it goes to Gvardiol, Gvardiol back to Ruben Diaz, Diaz on to Gvardiol, Gvardiol plays it to Matheus Nunes, City just inside the middle third, Matheus Nunes helps it back to Diaz inside the centre circle, on it goes to Foden, Foden on to Akanji, Akanji into the gap looking towards Haaland, he won't get to it, and Ramsdale does.
It's not a bad ball, but it has to be absolutely pinpoint, but it's not. Now we have a collision between Ramsdale, I think, and Bednarek. I think it is the defender. Catches his own goalkeeper. Just have a look. Does it catch him in the face? I don't know what he's gone down there for, I have to be honest. It's not as though really they want to waste time. Is he holding his face or?
Sure, what he's got a problem with. He's gestured for.
It's like holding his head, but on the replay, you can't really see anything.
Well, tending to his head. At the moment, City are warming up the substitutes they do have. John Stones, Nico O'Reilly, James McAtee, Ilkay Gundogan, Nathan Ake. They're the outfield substitutes. Gallagher on our monitor at the moment. Doesn't look as comfortable as he would have liked to have felt with 12 minutes remaining. Remember, City can only go top of the Premier League table with a win. Tomorrow afternoon, it's Arsenal v Liverpool at the Emirates. Just looking back at the goal that separates the two teams, Matheus Nunes with the cross, Haaland with a finish. We all thought it would be 3, 4, 5, 6. It's still that one goal. Yeah. Ramsdale's back on his feet.
I think you have got to give credit to Southampton because they've kept themselves in it. You know, yes, they've took risks. They've kept it, again, what we said, they've stuck to the principles, the philosophy of the manager. They've played out. Yeah, they've been caught out a couple of times, but they've rode the luck a few times. But ultimately, we've got, 11 minutes left plus added on time, and they're still in the game. And there's not many teams that can come to the Etihad, be going 1 down in the first 5 minutes and still be in the game.
Yeah, just had another close-up on our monitor of another injured player, Jeremy Doku, on a watching brief today. City have lost the ball in central midfield, and now Southampton streaming forward, and they've got 4 here in this attack. And they're in the left wing position with Walker-Peters. Walker-Peters plays it backwards, and they're still on the edge of the City penalty area. Walker-Peters onto Matheus Fernandes. Matheus Fernandes, ball back inside to Bree. Bree clips it in, headed away by Gvardiol, and Matheus Nunes can bring it down the left-hand side. He comes back inside and plays it back to Gvardiol. Gvardiol back to Ederson. Ederson will help it out further to the opposite side to Lewis. Lewis in the right back position back to Ederson. Ederson had to hit it first time into the air, and it's picked off easily by Stevens. And now Downs, and Southampton have not given up on this at all. The ball is with Aribo. Aribo midway inside the City half, back to Harwood-Bellis. On it goes to Bree. Bree back to Harwood-Bellis, back to Aribo again. The City fans know they've got a part to play here. 9.5 minutes plus maybe 4 or 5 added. Ball wide on the left with Walker-Peters. He's attacking down that side. An attack for Southampton developing here. Walker-Peters held up by Lewis. Still with Walker-Peters, back to Matheus Fernandes. And it goes to Stevens. Stevens helps it back to Harwood-Bellis. Harwood-Bellis looks to his right, scoops the ball over the top. Gvardiol did really well to stop Armstrong. Just as well he got there.
Yeah, it's a great stretch because, again, Armstrong goes to the ball and then comes away, and it looks like a brilliant ball, but Gvardiol does very, very well, stretches his leg, every sinew with his leg, manages to cut that out.
That's a foul on Foden. Stevens was lucky not to get booked because just wouldn't let Foden go past him. Southampton got a bit of a problem with Downs, who's got a bit of an injury. Looks like a calf problem, maybe a bit of cramp. Russell Martin might have to make a change here. Downs is trying to stretch it out, but he's gone to the deck. So City 1, Southampton 0. A goal from Haaland in 5 minutes. Since then, City have had chances for Haaland in particular. A couple of headers and a side foot that went wide. A shot from Kovacic that was spilt by Ramsdale out for a corner. But Southampton have had their moments. Archer hit the crossbar just on half-time. And Adam Armstrong, who came on at half-time, has hit a couple of shots just wide of the City net. So it's a game that you thought would be a comfortable one. Hasn't been anything of the sort. But at the moment, City still lead it. At the moment, there's an injury problem. Downs is down in a heap on the floor. Looks as though Southampton are going to have to make another change. They've already brought on Aribo, Armstrong and Bree. Might well have to make another change.
Seems to be struggling, and yet, in all fairness, when I've watched the replays, it seems quite innocuous, really, the challenge. And unless he's had something there before, and it's maybe a bit of a bruised bone, but he's caught that again, because that does hurt when you've got a bruised bone and you get another stud on it, flares it up. It is pretty painful, but I'm surprised he's gone off. He's obviously caught him, and he is feeling it, but as I said, looking at the replays, doesn't look a great deal in it.
Well, the free kick is now taken. Downs is off the field, waiting for his instruction to come back on. City are about to bring on İlkay Gündoğan. Not just yet. Gvardiol in the central area of Southampton's half. Ball on to Kovacic. Kovacic helps it on to Akanji. Southampton down to 10 at the moment because they've got a man off injured, trying to get back onto the pitch again. Akanji plays it to Savinho, wide on the right, back to Akanji again. Inside to Kovacic. Kovacic on to Gvardiol. Gvardiol out wide to Matheus Nunes. Matheus Nunes in the left wing position. Back it comes to Gvardiol. Gvardiol on to Kovacic. Kovacic, central area of the pitch, plays it on to Akanji. Wide it goes to Savinho. Savinho back to Akanji. Akanji on to Diaz. Diaz in the central midfield area, plays it out to Akanji again. Back it goes to Diaz. Diaz helps it on to Gvardiol. City going backwards, not forwards, and indeed all the way back to Ederson. 5 and a bit minutes to go. City 1, Southampton 0.
Yeah, again, very good from Southampton. Nice and compact, nice and tight. Not letting City in.
Howard Bellis just got on the end of an Ederson long ball. Ramsdale thumps it into the sky above the Etihad. Diaz is underneath it. Bernardo Silva chests it down and guides it all the way back to Ederson. City going to bring on İlkay Gundogan in a moment. Ball is now in the possession of Akanji. Akanji helps it on to Diaz. Diaz helps it on further to Gvardiol. Gvardiol still just inside City territory. The ball is with Kovacic. Kovacic darts across the halfway line. Checks and comes back the other way. Plays it to Lewis. Lewis further round to Savinho. Savinho down the right side. Savinho to the edge of the area. Back it goes to Akanji. Akanji tries the shot straight down the barrel at Ramsdale. Easy gather for the Southampton goalkeeper. City 1, Southampton 0, and now Downs, who only just hobbled back on, has just fallen down again.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously in pain because you could understand the City fans would be frustrated if it was 1-1 or the team were winning. He must have genuinely feeling something there. As I said, I was a little bit surprised when I looked at the replay and didn't see him an awful lot in the challenge. But just on the last attempt on goal there by Akanji, cuts inside his left foot. I think he's trying for placement more than anything else, just didn't get enough behind it. Ultimately a very safe, comfortable save for Ramsdale.
Well, City have just made their first change. Matheus Nunes has come off, İlkay Gundogan has come on. But the visitors making changes. Kamaldeen Sulemana, he's coming on, and Flynn Downs has finally given way to his injury. But also the giant figure of Ebere Onuachu, Nigerian striker, he's coming on.
Yeah, he's tall, isn't he?
He's a big man.
Do you know how high is he? Not high is he? What's his height? Do you know?
6'4", yeah.
6'4".
Probably the biggest man out there. He's certainly bigger than the two goalkeepers. He might be 6'5", actually. They do it in metres now, and I can never work out what that is. So they've brought Onuachu on and taken Cameron Archer off. I think in old money he must be 6'5", that would be my guess.
Yeah.
And it's gone straight up in the air to him, and he flicked it on. And it goes to Armstrong. Different centre forward for them to deal with now, City. Big, tall figure of Onuachu. Aribo on to Bree, back to Aribo. 3 minutes to go at the Etihad. City 1, Southampton 0. Goal in the 5th minute. A couple of efforts off the line from Haaland. One that went wide as well on top of that. A couple of shots that have come in on Ramsdale. But Southampton have had moments of their own, including an Archer shot against the crossbar and a couple of Armstrong efforts on top of that. City haven't been able to put Southampton to bed. And as a consequence, as we reach the last couple of minutes of the game, there is still hope for the visitors to grab their second point of the game. And that's a booking for Kovacic because he stopped a break from developing. I think they call that taking one for the team, don't they?
Well, you do, but having said that, you know, you kind of, the lads come on, the big tall lads, and this is playing into their hands now because that means from the position that Southampton are in, they'll get a high ball into the box. Now, I don't know what the lad's like. I'm not sure if he's a very good player on the floor or is he just dangerous in the air. I mean, because as you sort of said, to play against somebody that tall is completely different. In my time, it was Peter Crouch or even Quinney, who was here. I think there was another lad who played for Stockport called, is it Francis?
Yes, I remember him well, yeah.
And he was tall.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can have a great leap, but if he's just jumping half a leap, he's still going to be head and shoulders above you, and it causes so many problems. So it'll be interesting to see what the tactics are of Southampton and how they utilise him.
Well, at the moment, it's a Southampton free kick about 10 metres inside the City half. City have got a very, very high line. Very, very high. Now they're dropping back for the delivery of the kick, which is aimed towards Onuachu, heads it on target, but Ederson really just had to readjust and catch it, which he did. We're in the 90th minute. This game is still not put to bed. Forward comes Lewis, gets towards the halfway line, checks and comes back. Plays it back to Akanji. Akanji into the path of Diaz. Diaz plays it out wide to Gvardiol. Look at Southampton's energy, it's good. The ball is with Kovacic. Kovacic now can dart forward. Out wide it goes to Savinho, who swapped wings from right wing to left wing. Bernardo Silva's now operating on the left. Ball is with Diaz. Diaz in the centre circle, pushes it to Akanji. Akanji into Lewis, back to Akanji again. It's just inside the City half. 90th minute. I'll tell you what, the Blues will be delighted if they get out of this with a clean sheet, because otherwise their afternoon will be very, very miserable.
What do you reckon, an extra 5 minutes?
I think so. I think 5, yeah, maybe even 6.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. 6 it is. The ball is with Kovacic on the edge of the area. He's facing his own goal, plays it to Diaz. Diaz back to Ederson. Ederson on his left foot plays it to Gundogan. Back to Ederson. He'll just have to clip it forward. He picks out Foden onto Haaland and back to Foden. Get out wide. Bernardo Silva on the right side, but it's still Foden in possession. Foden down the centre he goes. Wide now to Savinho. Savinho comes outside, clips the ball in, and Ramsdale tips it away and gathers it himself. 91st minute, first of 6 added. City 1, Southampton 0. Well, I tell you what, if you're Southampton now, you're thinking, well, let's just risk it. We lose 2-0, we lose 1-0, makes no difference. Let's have a go and get an equaliser, get a famous point. The ball is in the left-back position for them. City know that there's going to be a threat. They're going to bang the ball up to Onuachu and he's going to knock it down for runners. The ball is on the edge of the Southampton area. They played it back to Ramsdale. Second of 6 minutes added. City 1, Southampton 0. Can't believe that's the scoreline, but there you have it. The ball's with Walker-Peters. On it goes now to Harwood-Bellis. Harwood-Bellis getting towards the halfway line. City in shape to defend. Ball down the line. Gvardiol will chase it. Diaz will come across. Back to Ederson. And Ederson will play it back to Diaz again. Second minute of 6 of added time. Diaz up towards Haaland. And that's surely a nudge from Harwood-Bellis, but he got away with it. Backwards by Bednarek into the possession of the goalkeeper Ramsdale. Ramsdale back to Harwood-Bellis. On it goes. Good tackle by Gundogan. Little prod from Savinho. Haaland on to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva towards the edge of the area. On it goes to Haaland. That looked like a foul. Referee says, well, play on. You've still got the ball. Haaland plays it back to Lewis in the right wing position, but facing his own goal. And backwards it goes to Kovacic. Third of 6 added minutes. Gundogan, central midfield. On it goes to Gvardiol, wider to Savinho. Savinho in the penalty area, darts in, clips in a low one, right across the face of the goal, and out for a throw on the far side near the corner flag. Third of 6 added minutes. City will be very happy to have a 1-0 victory today, which seems extraordinary when you look where Southampton are in the table, but I have to give enormous credit to Southampton. I can think of many a promoted team going 1 down after 5 who would have crumpled, but they haven't.
Yeah, I mean, we said when we were doing the stuff before the game, you know, they believe in what they're actually doing, and to be fair to them, they've done it.
They have, and here they come on the counter, and City are backpedaling here. Adam Armstrong in the right wing position. Southampton flooding forward. Armstrong hits it towards Onuachu. Onuachu's header is cleared by Akanji, and Southampton have their first corner of the game. They're in the 94th minute, and Onuachu has to be kept quiet from the delivery, and that won't be an easy task, Steve.
No, Onuachu does well. It's a good ball by Armstrong, and Onuachu pulls away. He gets the header on. I think it's one of them ones where Ederson collects it quite easy, but there's just a little bit of panic in the back four there, and Akanji just boots it away, and it's a corner to Southampton.
It is, and Onuachu and Bednarek are all in there. So too is Stevens. A lot of big men to try and stop getting to the ball, away by Akanji. Savino chases, backwards it goes to Walker-Peters. City are flooding out, but Southampton have the ball. Onward it goes to the left wing. Crosses coming in towards Onuachu. Up into the air by Bednarek. Vardiol heads it out for a throw on the near side. So no, they've stopped it. Aribo stopped it going out. Now then, it's with Bree and Walker-Peters. We're in the 95th minute. 2 minutes of added time to go. Ball to the far side. Up goes Vardiol. Heads it out for a throw. Southampton going for it. And absolutely no surprise to see it. They're going to throw a long bomb into the area, are they? Stevens has it in his hands.
Looks like it, but it's kind of back to the wall at the moment. You sense that the fans are getting behind the team because they know as well it's a difficult period. Can they see it out?
They can indeed have a difficult period, City. Stevens with a throw into the area. Headed on at the near post and then cleared on the edge by Kovacic, and City tried to get to it, and it's a yellow card surely for Suleimana. City were bursting away and Suleimana just kind of did a rugby flop onto the back of Kovacic. Well, he's not booked him, but it will eat more seconds off the clock. Well, Stones is going to come on just to kill time really, and maybe to try and deal with Onuachu, because it's a City free kick about 30 metres from their own goal. Stones is going to come on for literally the last seconds of the match. City 1, Southampton 0, a goal in 5 minutes from Haaland, but that's the only goal that City have managed. But at the moment, they're heading to the top of the Premier League table because of it. Ederson.
Probably not one of the most memorable games, but they'll just take the 3 points if they can see it through.
Absolutely. Good header back though by Harwood-Bellis. Ramsdale's got the ball in his hands, he bowls it out. Harwood-Bellis props it forward. Onuachu with the chest down. Gundogan picks it up, and now Foden's got it. Foden on to Haaland. Haaland to finish. Great save, Ramsdale. Excellent save from Ramsdale. And here comes Walker-Peters for Southampton. Southampton charging forward. Ball now with Suleimana. Suleimana tackled by Lewis, and a foul by Lewis. Free kick to Southampton. Stones is coming on. Lewis is coming off. So Stones is going to get literally the last seconds of the game only. Good save by Ramsdale though.
Yeah, to be fair to Ramsdale, because it's a great ball by Foden into Haaland. He takes a very, very good touch, and you're just expecting him to dink it over, and that's what he tries to do. But Ramsdale, to be fair to him, he's out in a flash, and he's out there to smother the shot, so he can't get that height on it. He gets his toe underneath it, but because Ramsdale is there that quickly, it stops the ball from going over him. So it's a very good save, massive save really.
Yes indeed. So there's a free kick for Southampton about 15 metres inside their own half. Ramsdale's going to launch it. They've got the height of Onuachu, Harwood-Bellis, Bednarek and Stevens. They've gone short to Walker-Peters. On it goes now to the right side to Aribo. Aribo's facing his own goal, back to Ramsdale. There's only seconds remaining here at the Etihad. Long ball up, and it should be Gvardiol's to clear, which he does. And the referee sounds his whistle, and City have got over the line. And they celebrate because, to be honest, it was a nervy finish.